you can answer this or not. I just don't know without asking you. Are my questions? This is where I'm unclear, Your Honor. I'm
His
not sure what
ex-wife
exactly I'm
is
supposed to
bonkers.
be doing.
She was all over him all the time.
How much further
Send me money, send me money, send me money.
in regards to the
How can I give you money when I don't have a job?
Parenting plan. I had no idea that the relocation parenting plan is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm supposed to object to it.
His ex-wife, when I say a monster, she's a monster.
She's my best doing about relocation, knowing what I'm doing. Forgive me, it's Exhibit B.
Like, completely berates him
About
money, about
I'm sorry, everything that I possibly can properly represent myself.
Your Honor, forgive me, but I'm here on the phone trying to do all of
When I
this.
ask you what to provide written closing arguments, no more than 5 pages.
No more than 5 pages? No more than 5 pages?
Welcome back. Today we are going over Sarah Catherine Boone Paulsen's
Excuse me. You're eating my cupcake. I don't want a peach. Cupcake.
closing arguments. I literally just released a video covering both Brian and Sarah's opening arguments and only covering Brian's closing arguments because to our knowledge, Sarah never submitted a closing argument. It did not post to the website for weeks. So something tells me there was some shady business going on there. I mean, this whole thing is shady in terms of font sizes, missing pages, all this, all that. But before we get into that, one, I want to shout out to Human Tooth for sending this to me right away. Thank you so much for all the work you do and finding those missing pages and adding them here as well. And reformatting it so that that terrible font size was actually legible. Let's get all the warnings out of the way. If this is your first time here, welcome to the world of long-form rant content, where there is no structure or goal. It is just me reacting to whatever I want to react to, and the video is finished whenever it is finished. I assert no authority on this channel. These are just my opinions. You take what you take, you leave what you leave. But if you leave a like on the way out. That's just good home training. I tend to talk a lot, so if you want to watch something where the video plays all the way through, this is not the video for you. I'm also going to add Brian's closing to the end of this, just so I have a video where, you know, they're both side by side. Even though this will be the third time covering Brian's closing argument, it'll be in contrast to Sarah's closing arguments, and now it'll read a little different why he said what he said and why she said what she said. Because my personal belief, I think she waited for him to post his before she even started writing hers. And there's evidence that she didn't write this at all, that someone else wrote it, and that the theory is that Nicole, one of her, I don't know what you call her, wrote it for her. I think she's in Australia, and it shows by how she spells some of the words because they are not spelled how the English American way we spell them. And they're not the way Sarah has spelled them herself in the past. So I call shenanigans all over the place. But with all that out of the way, let's dive right in. Respondent's written closing argument. Respondent Sarah K. Boone, and in her best representation and efforts, submits her closing arguments in opposition of the petitioner's parenting plan, amended and support orders, and all other requests the petitioner is attempting. Well, straight out the gate, showing us that she doesn't agree with nothing, not going to agree to anything. So all that talk about if husband wants to have a rational conversation, I'm willing to mediate. Her husband is willing to have a rational, reasonable discussion, however mediated, I am more than willing and welcome. If there is anything else I can do to show my very good intentions other than writing this letter expressing my desperation to continue to be included in my son's life, and I need mediation, I need to come together. My requests and questions were all an attempt to choose a date and schedule this much needed, very important mediation. Please understand, this mediation is everything. Now all of that goes away, and it is I'm in 100% opposition of everything. And I know she's only doing that because that's what Brian put in his closing. Okay, Sally the Siren is going in tonight. It's every time you bring up Sarah's name, just the police have to get out and be like, we have to make sure she's locked up. She can't be set free. But for real, I hope whoever's in trouble is okay. What was I saying? Oh, she's only saying this because Brian put that in his closing arguments, but it made sense because they're actually objecting to absolutely every one of her requests because they're ridiculous and non-practical. Petitioner Brian C. Boone, former husband, respectfully submits this closing argument in support of his petition to modify the parenting and support orders and in opposition to the respondent's requests, states as follows. However, Sarah already agreed with some things they already proposed. You agreed with the relocation. You agreed to give back the child support.
Right, so you agree that Mr. Boone should not be paying you child support?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
All right, they made a statement that there is approximately $4,000 that is sitting in the clerk of courts with regard to child support. They're asking that that be returned to Mr. Boone so that he can use it to care for the child. Do you agree with that?
I do, only if he decides to include me, please, on some of the things that I would like to have my son to have also, and things that he had made mention to me that he would like to have in order to become more of an adult and his growth in his teenage years.
You know, you try to put a little stipulation in there, but you still agreed with the action. So now in your closing argument saying, I reject everything, it's just not the truth. But it's what you think you're supposed to put, so whatever. Opposition states as follows. To begin, the respondent would like to address the section of alimony and the petitioner's motion for modification of alimony filed April 12, 2022. Respectfully, before this honorable court considers this request, the respondent asks for judicial notice be taken of her pending motion for contempt, filed April 11, 2023, against the petitioner. Why is this how you're starting it? You're supposed to be getting into your arguments and you're saying, all right, to begin, side note, I want you to take judicial notice that I filed a motion for contempt, which I've said 10 million times. Also, fun fact, she already did.
Number 9, respondent. Motion for contempt.
All right, I'm not considering a motion for contempt with regard to a final hearing. Okay? Anything else?
It was my understanding it was held in continuance until this actual moment, which is why it's been waiting to be heard.
I think she's referencing, Your Honor, the motion for contempt on the non-payment of alimony, not the most recent motion for contempt that she filed.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
this was done,
The court will
and
take judicial notice that you have filed a motion for contempt with regard to the alimony. Okay? And that is
was back in
something that
2023.
that is something that I am considering because I've got to deal with what the alimony that was not paid, okay?
yes, Your
All
Honor.
right, so with that
I'm-
clarification from counsel, I will take judicial notice of your motion for contempt with regard to the alimony.
And she told you in trial that she was taking judicial notice. So you putting it in the closing arguments again just shows you're not paying attention. And it's not relevant at this point in time because the motion for contempt can only be looked at after they look at the modification. So you're trying to say, before you look at the modification, remember that I put in a motion for contempt. And then you can look at the modification and then you can look at my motion for contempt. Not necessarily the strongest opening to tell the judge to do something she already did. The respondent asks for judicial notice be taken of her pending motion for contempt.
done,
The court will
and
take judicial notice that you have filed a motion for contempt with regard to the alimony.
yes, Your
All
Honor.
right, so with that
I'm-
clarification from counsel, I will take judicial notice of your motion for contempt with regard to the alimony.
Filed April 11th, 2023.
And that was back in
something that
2023.
I am
Against the petitioner, whom has willfully failed to comply with court-ordered alimony obligations by neglecting to pay ordered alimony to the respondent prior to filing this petition to modify. Under Florida law, alimony obligations are court enforceable and cannot be ignored without consequence. Section 6108 Florida statutes governs the award of alimony, and when such an obligation is established, the paying spouse must comply absent modification by the court. Further, Section 6114 Florida statutes explicitly allows for enforcement actions and contempt proceedings when alimony remains unpaid. Florida courts have consistently held that failure to pay court-ordered alimony constitutes grounds for contempt. As these obligations are not optional, they are legally binding. It is important to take note that the former husband, Brian C. Boone, was employed full-time during the entire two years that he did meet the requirements of his court-ordered alimony payments. The petitioner cannot, in good faith, request a downward modification while simultaneously standing in violation of the very court order they now seek to alter. So you can tell that this last part was either added in post or I don't know, because the fonts are different. So this paragraph talking about how he has been unemployed for 2 weeks obviously did not naturally coincide with what was written beforehand and what is written afterwards. Also, this is just a baseless allegation. You have no proof that he was employed. You keep trying to show bank statements of, well, then how are you getting this money? Well, then how this, how that? She tried to trap him in as many ways as she could to get him to admit that he had a job or was employed full-time, but she never actually got that evidence. And if she did have that evidence, she didn't question him on it. She had the question about, you said that the relocation would be better financial outcomes for you. How has it improved your finances in the move?
For page 2 of the relocation with the parenting plan, it says that it will dramatically improve the economic circumstances of the petitioner and the minor child.
So I'm going to object because as the relevance, because I'll let her finish her question. I'm sorry. Finish your question. I'm sorry.
It's part of
Sorry, Ms. Boone. Go ahead.
How has it improved your economic circumstances considering the fact that you are in quotes unemployed?
So now I'm going to object, Your Honor, as the relocation was already stipulated to, so now irrelevant. Irrelevance.
All right, I'm going to sustain the objection. Again, ask questions regarding the issues that I just gave you. We've already stipulated, you've already agreed to the relocation to,
which was objected to because it wasn't relevant, because it regarded the relocation that she already agreed on, even though now she's saying that she rejects everything the petitioner is proposing. But okay. And then just the wording in this is making it feel like they just watched or read Brian's closing and said, well, now we need the same language. So this whole, he cannot come here when he's standing in violation of the very order he's trying to alter, mirrors what they said, being like she is standing in violation of the very court order she's trying to enforce. It would be fundamentally unfair to reward former wife with fees or to sanction former husband when she herself has flouted significant obligations under the very same final judgment she seeks to enforce. But that logic actually tracks, right? They're calling out the contradiction that she is saying you need to be following this court order, this parenting plan. You're not doing this, wrong, 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 when she also isn't following this. She's pointing the finger elsewhere, but she's not following it. So it is contradictory to try to enforce the court order that you are also violating. Conversely, you can't flip that and say that you are not coming in good faith because you are standing in violation of the order you are trying to alter. Yeah, that's the point. If you are in violation of a order that you are trying to alter, it means you're trying to alter it to where you are no longer in violation and that they adopt your parenting plan and your proposals. You are the never-ending contradiction. his actions still track. Equity demands that one must come before this court with clean hands, and the petitioner's noncompliance bars them from the relief they request until such arrears are addressed. Again, she's just mirroring the language from Brian's attorney. And sorry, that's not from his closing, that was from his pretrial statement. And at that same moment, he accused Sarah of coming to court with unclean hands, meaning you're coming to the court deceitfully, with bad faith, trying to use the court for your own benefit, and not because it is just and equitable, which is the only way Sarah knows how to use the judicial system and any authoritative system in general. Comes to the court with unclean hands,
You nasty.
and may be denied relief. 56. Similarly, here, former wife's hands are unclean.
Little nasty.
She has not, quote, done equity toward former husband or the child. Equity should therefore bar her from recovering attorney's fees or any affirmative relief until she has purged her own defaults. Equity demands that one must come before this court with clean hands, and the petitioner's noncompliance bars them from the relief they request until such arrears are addressed. And she's mad that he brought up and said that she had all this unclean hands here and there, and now she's trying to throw it back in his face and say, well, your hands are actually the ones unclean. And that's what she does with everyone who tries to show her her own actions. That's what she did with Mr. J when she was just like, you all wake up and take lives in your own way. Who's the real criminal? Prosecutors Mr. J and Mr. Cacciatore, my hatred is also extended. I hate you most for never seeing the light in people, their human goodness, humor, and big hearts. You wake up to seek out the opposite, to condemn, and to take lives in your own way. Right? Because you were convicted of murder.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree.
And you hate that label and you're mad people call you that. So you want to point the finger and say, actually, no, you all are the killers. You have blood all over your keyboards.
With its greed, insensitivity, deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance and hate, conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. My family law case is the new prey waiting to be picked apart and pillaged from me being made infamous by social media in my criminal case. It simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my cases online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced successful conclusion was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Also, all of the media tycoons for not having a life of their own. Trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudgment, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and taking blood money from my and others' misfortunes, accidents, and catastrophes. It's all over their hands and their keyboards.
Organized crime here and there. Meanwhile, she's the only one convicted of the highest felony you can get. But we're the bad ones. Got it. In the second portion of the petitioner's request, he asks this court to impute income to the respondent for purposes of calculating child support obligations. Respectively, this is improper to do under both Florida law and other jurisdictions. This issue has been addressed in Department of Revenue v. Lamas, where the court held that trial courts cannot impute income to an incarcerated individual absent a showing of the ability to pay. The Llamas decision aligns with persuasive authority such as Lambert v. Lambert, where the Indiana Supreme Court concluded that imputing income to an incarcerated individual is improper because such individuals lack the present ability to earn income. Okay, so this point is split where she is right about some things and then very wrong about everything else, mainly her interpretation and how she's using it. So you are correct where you can't impute income to an incarcerated individual based off of either pre-employment wages and trying to apply what they were making to what they are making now, and you can't call incarceration voluntary unemployment. That is what kind of checks out across the board. However, what doesn't check out is, one, the context of these cases, when the cases she cites are about payers, not payees. So they were trying to adjust wages and adjust their child support obligations while they were in prison, not trying to create a hypothetical to balance out what she was getting paid and what she should have been paying based off of the substantial change in circumstances. And there's a difference which doesn't automatically cancel out Brian's point, and she somewhat kind of makes a point, but not really. What would have been a stronger argument for Brian to argue, for his attorney to argue, and I don't know why they really didn't bring this up, was Sarah's unemployment before incarceration. She didn't have a job for 2 years before she was incarcerated, even though she kept trying to dog on George for being jobless for 2 weeks.
And does she or George have a job?
No. She hasn't worked for over 2 years. Well, I guess you could maybe call what he's got a job. He worked at the Ace Hardware up across the street here.
Okay.
Which is now going out of business.
Okay.
He kind of off and on worked there. When he did work, it was 15, 20 hours a week, something like that. I mean, my alimony and stuff basically pays for where they live. So, I mean, they didn't need a ton, but, I mean, she was always calling to borrow money. And but, it's been like 2 years since she got a job. She keeps on telling me she's looking. She's always finding good opportunities and everything, but...
Right.
Brian, because I was supposed to have my son today and pick him up from school. Brian usually calls to make sure, hey, are you sure you're getting today? Because I've had job interviews.
Right.
And she wasn't paying any child support during that entire time. So what the court can do is can impute income to her for the joblessness that she had before incarceration. And I'm pretty sure that they can retro backdate that up to 24 months to when it was filed. So Brian filed in 2022, so he can get a 2-year credit if they were to impute the income of what she would have been making pre getting incarcerated when she was jobless for 2 years. So she was jobless for a total of 4 years before Brian submitted his application. If they harped on her previous pre-incarcerated voluntary unemployment, you can't call incarceration voluntary unemployment, but what she did before incarceration was voluntary unemployment. And that's when you can impute income and create its own calculation, which then can be used as an offset. However, oh my gosh, this is a lot to explain. These numbers also aren't literally trying to be changed for her. They're not trying to create a child support obligation for her. They're using it as a hypothetical that the court can consider using its equitable powers to weigh in the balance of things. If she were not incarcerated, if she were employed, this is what she would have owed once the child lost all time sharing with her. If they were under similar circumstances in terms of her inability to be in her child's life, and it's because she just moved across the world, then you could actually say that it was 4 years of voluntary unemployment. But because she was incarcerated, you can't call those 2 years voluntary unemployment. Does that make sense? I hope so, because it felt like just a ramble. Anyway, those cases only apply to mainly fathers going into prison from getting away from their child support obligations, because child support follows the child and not an obligation between parents. And then just to bring it home, she says this is supported in other authorities and other jurisdictions. That's contradictory. Indiana Supreme Court does not have any authority over Florida Supreme Court. You can cite other cases from other jurisdictions in order to build your argument and support it, but it does not hold any authority in Florida. Judges can completely reject that. If you're building an argument and you have Florida law as a ground, like as your anchoring point, and then you said, also, here are some other things that we see across states that bolster this overall argument. But she is using them to say they are equal and that because Indiana came with this decision, Florida has to agree with that decision. They do not. The respondent in this case is serving a life sentence.
Ms. Boone, court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections.
There is no evidence of present or future ability to generate income, except didn't you say that you work at the classifications department? Okay.
Well, I know for a fact that I'm actually in the classifications department now. Do you know my schedule of work while I'm located at DOC? Do you know my schedule of work? My schedule of work?
Florida law on child support recognizes that obligations must be based on actual ability to pay, not speculative or non-existent income. To impute income here would not only contradict established law, it would also create an artificial support order that the respondent has no capacity to ever be able to fulfill. Which is why they aren't asking you to fulfill it. They're asking the court to consider that obligation when offsetting the alimony payments that he knows he's going to have to make. Because she does have the argument that he's supposed to owe her alimony arrearages from 2020 to 2022. So all of their arguments of he was not employed full-time, he was paying her, this and that are to try to offset and lower that amount, not to force you into a future obligation, because we know you can't handle any of those obligations. Even if you did have the money, you just would find a reason not to pay it. Well, actually, that is the situation. There's plenty of people who do give you money. That is an income. You can have an income without having a job. So she could pay her son something if she wanted to. Even if it was $10, she won't do it. She has not paid a single cent to that child that is not connected to her in the sense of she's having Brian use Brian's money to get her son something, not using Brian to have all these other people's donations, monies, income. That's her money. She's not going to give that away. With respect to the nature and purpose of child support, it is important to emphasize that child support exists for the best interest of the child, not as a punitive measure against the parent. Section Florida statutes establishes the child support guidelines and sets forth that child support is always designed to meet the needs of the minor child. The Florida Supreme Court has repeatedly underscored that the focus of child support orders must remain on the child's welfare, not on creating financial leverage between parents. Well, could you tell yourself this? Because that's all you've done for years now, is try to hold the alimony and child support over his head as though both of them were vested rights to you. And even though the alimony argument is whatever, you did include child support up until the very end when you submitted that one motion, I think some pretrial motion incorrectly, and then you submitted that amended motion where you took out child support and said, actually, yes, we're going to give that back once she actually realized she had no legal rights to it. But for years, she has had a death grip over this child support, trying to get it back to her so she can use it any way she wants to use it. But now she's a child support scholar and realizes that child support is only for the best interest of the child and not a debt between parents. Then why during the trial did you put that stipulation of, yes, I want him to have the child support back only if he includes me?
That there is approximately $4,000 that is sitting in the clerk of courts with regard to child support. They're asking that that be returned to Mr. Boone so that he can use it to care for the child. Do you agree with that?
I do, only if he decides to include me, please, on some of the things that I would like to have my son to have also, and things that he had made mention to me that he would like to have in order to become more of an adult and his growth in his teenage years.
As in you trying to put a stipulation saying, I want to have control over the money that rightfully belongs to the child. The petitioner further requests that if the respondent is awarded any monetary relief, such relief should be retroactively offset against alleged back child support obligations. Respectfully, this position is legally and equitably unsound. To allow such an offset would defeat the entire purpose of child support. Child support is a vested right belonging to the child, not the parent, and Florida courts have long held that these rights cannot be waived, bargained away, or retroactively manipulated to serve the financial interest of one parent over the child. Which is ironically exactly what you are doing. It's always so funny how she just does that. She tries to call stuff out that she is the one actually doing herself. So all these years, when you kept complaining for this and for that, now you understand that the child support is for the child, a vested interest that should follow the child. Then why did you have Brian putting $100 every month you were incarcerated in another trust or another account with the clerk of courts for one day, the hope of it being released to you and you could use it however you want? Because if you believe what you're saying now, you wouldn't have had him pay at all, because you would understand that child support is for the child and that having that money put away in a secret account until you get your grubby little fingers on it is taking more resources away from the child. So we can talk about this one sentence of, quote, would defeat the entire purpose of child support, and it would be retroactively manipulating child support to serve the financial interest of one parent over the child. And that sounds all fine and noble, and you're saying all the words you need to say. You're here, you're that mother trying to defend your child, but it's the reverse. You are the one using your child as a shield in order to protect your personal finances. She's trying to make the alimony a parental issue and keep that complete. That's exactly right, Linda. She is trying to separate these two things of alimony is against the parents, that should be its own thing. Child support involves the child, that should be its own thing. It all culminates together because you're accusing him of trying to take things away from the child when he is not trying to change child support whatsoever. Why would he? He is the one who has paid 100% of the child's support. He's the only one financially supporting the child. This is an imputation in order to find a number for retroactive support in order to offset the alimony you are trying to claim now. You have not provided anything for the child. Child support is meant to be equitable, as in fairness, as in both parents contribute to monetarily raising and supporting the child. She thinks if I can just give him all these phone calls, say I love you, and give him a fake little hug over the internet, then that means that she's raising her child and she's doing her support obligations. But she hasn't fulfilled any of those obligations. So Brian is finally asking the court to just put a number, do some quick little calculations of what she would have paid if she did actually decide to contribute to her son at all. And have that contribution, the contribution Brian has 100% funded and didn't receive from her, have that taken away from the money she is now claiming is entitled to her. But she is saying, no, 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 no. I get both. I get to both not support my son whatsoever, call you a bad person, and then take all of your money. It is the most surface level manipulation tactic I've ever seen. And it's because she's not familiar with the courts or anything. Judges see this all the time. This is a classic case of projection and reversal. And it's because she has no actual arguments that support what she is saying. Her only arguments are, one, trying to discredit any arguments he has, and two, saying that she should have it because it's court ordered. Other than that, not a single fact supports anything she backs up. She's in prison. It is not the best interest of the child to go see her constantly in prison. She is broke and has not financially supported the child in any way, hasn't even tried to. Is saying, I'm in prison, so why would you even ask me that? But also, I'm poor and I need your money.
Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around. With your broke ass.
So in turn, taking resources away from the child, taking resources and money out of the household in order to protect your own personal financial interest, which, as you have just noted, should never happen. She literally just tells on herself constantly. Your Honor, even if this court were to accept the petitioner's request to impute income to the respondent and allow any set against alleged arrears, the outcome would still provide no monetary support to the minor child. Instead of benefiting the child as Florida law requires, the result would simply, quote, call it even, erasing the petitioner's arrears while simultaneously depriving the respondent of funds she is legally entitled to receive.
Send me money, send me money, send me money.
In effect, this approach would punish her for the petitioner's past non-compliance and reward the petitioner by relieving him of obligations already legally established under Florida law. What about your obligations to your son? See, you want to hold his feet to the fire and say he has this, he has that, but you are saying you have no legal obligation to do any of this? And that it is actually punishing you of funds that you are entitled to by not having him take money away from his son. Giving you $1,000 a month, or giving you even the $20,000+ you're asking for now, is $20,000 away from your son. Tuition, school needs, broken leg, anything that can come up, all has to be put on the back burner because mom needs commissary in prison. And it's court ordered. Don't forget that. It's not a reward for his actual monetary contributions to be weighed in his favor. He is the one who went above and beyond and not only paid for himself and his son, but also for you. He should have filed a petition to modify as soon as your ass went in there, because odds are, after murdering someone, you're not coming home soon. But he tried to work with you. And they went with your little system. He tried to have the storage unit. He tried to give you some commissary here and there. And then you would bug him to death and call him daily, asking for all of these updates. Like, he's supposed to do this. He's supposed to do that. He is not supposed to be in contact with you every day. She can't accept the fact that they are divorced, which is why anytime she brings it up of saying like, I needed him to be this kind of man. I needed this, and this would have helped out in our marriage if he had done this. What former husband is trying to do is sweep me in a dark, bleak corner and keep me there, hoping I find no way out.
I didn't mean to leave him there. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Because I'm looking at the hole knowing that it's there. He'll get out and no problem. Because you don't.
And then he doesn't.
I'm in the bed.
You even moved.
And dozed off. I didn't want him to be like that. Don't.
You didn't want him to be upside down. How do you even get upside down?
Right. You guys are killing me right now.
The, quote, relief he is seeking means to remove any additional work, trouble, effort, concern, responsibility, etc., which would make former husband be the reliable, caring, consistent, honest person he should be. How especially to our son, and who I always wanted and needed him to be when we were married, possibly altering the current situation for everyone. You know, if he was the person that I needed him to be, we wouldn't even be in this mess. You mean you wouldn't have killed someone if Brian had treated you better? Right. But it's in the way that she treats him. She calls him for everything. Still trying to speak to my son. I am floored. You nor he answered the phone after calling 3 times on each. Let me guess, you're watching a movie. I've told you in the past what it is for me to get a phone call, nonetheless 3. I am forwarding to you again, should you not understand, after stating you do. From any of the now 118 tablet messages I sent to you previously, and you do not respond to any to date, and the 104 recorded telephone calls asking the same questions nonstop. Will complain, say that he calls her too much on the outside and that she had to ignore his calls.
My ex-husband is notorious for bringing my son over in very inopportune times.
Brian, because I was supposed to have my son today to pick him up from school. Brian usually calls to make sure, hey, are you sure you're getting today? Because I've had job interviews.
Right.
So after he called like maybe 3, 4 times, maybe 5, I finally answered, and that's like...
Do you think you were sleeping and missed those calls?
No, I ignored them.
You ignored them?
Because he's notorious for blowing up my phone.
And I just wanted to ensure that he would not bring my son over in the process of all of this.
Heard my phone ringing, and I knew it was Brian because he called over and over and over and over again, which is what he does.
So you assumed it was him, but you didn't know Brian was calling you, but you assumed it was Brian?
Yes, because he calls back to back to back to back to back to back. Until I eventually get my phone answer.
Okay.
So you called him?
I called him.
But how dare he ignore her calls? And he was the one who was actually calling about his son, saying, are you going to pick him up, or are you going to leave him out in the cold for hours while there's a teacher outside who has to sit there and wait for someone to come pick him up? Let me know now so I can help everyone schedule. I can make sure our son doesn't feel abandoned. I can make sure that teacher who wanted to go home doesn't have to wait outside with him. And I can make sure that you don't look like a terrible parent yet again for leaving him. That's calling to talk about your child. You call to talk about you and your needs, and you throw the word son in there just like you throw the word please into every sentence. Excuse me, please. Well, please, if you don't mind, please. Can you explain this? Please.
Yes, I would like to make an opening statement, please. What do you mean by inferred, please? I would like, please, to put into evidence I do only if he decides to include me, please. From my parenting or from my pretrial statement, please, I would like to say that my incarceration has nothing to do.
Do you have another case?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right.
Please.
All right, give me just...
I'm trying to make sure that I have everything pulled up. Okay, I'm going to start, please. Would you like to have the citation? Okay, one moment, please, if I may. I'm looking through really quick.
Yeah, we cannot find that case.
Yes, please, if I could put a substitution in. Yes, please, if I may comment on that.
You may continue.
Yes, please. If I could please add one more. I'm sorry, my classifications department is speaking to me. Hold on one moment, please. I'm sorry. Please, if I may, before we hang up, the closing arguments are for parenting plan, alimony, attorney's fees, and...
I am not repeating myself, ma'am.
She abuses that word, and it just shows that it's hollow in that she doesn't mean it. She's just saying it out of obligation because she believes that word gets her what she wants. And it's the same thing with her son. She brings the son up to anyone, anytime, anywhere.
I was worried about my son. I went to my former husband's residence where my son was located.
You were going to spend the night there with your son and with your ex-husband?
Correct.
And did you do that?
My son, yes.
All right.
My son can't come over here because he's here.
He doesn't live here.
He doesn't live here. Oh. I want to see my son. It's not fair.
Okay.
I can have my son come over?
It's your house.
I'm going to take my son out of school.
That's fine.
We will definitely make sure that you don't feel scared when we leave here, okay?
And my 9-year-old.
Well, he's at school, or he's with your husband.
I know. Well,
ex-husband.
Oh, okay, Mom.
I don't know what it is.
Exactly. And that's what we're here to find out. We're just here to get the answers. The answers that you want, the answers that his family's going to want.
I just really want to see my son. Like, I really need to see my son.
Everything else, I have no idea what it is. No idea what it is. Nonetheless, I've had my son over the house too, so why is it you all think that y'all don't know me, you don't know me, nope, would do something like that, especially having a 9-year-old son? I don't think you all understand who I am, where...
Okay. Well, tell me.
I mean, I've always been a straight-A student. I am an outstanding mother to my son. Okay. I excel at everything.
Because she has learned that people will give you what you want more times than not if you use the child as leverage. And that's why she can so confidently testify in court. What else is it that I call you about? As if she did not record herself all of the harassing text messages and phone calls telling him, why aren't you doing more for me?
That's not what you call for.
What else is it that I call for?
Phone call confirmation, commissary, soap for son, hymnal, keep it kosher food pack, pizza and wings hot meal, birds and blooms magazine renewal. You stated to me to call back Monday for order info. Per the phone call we had today regarding my reasonable requests I am still waiting on for you to order, as said some years, months, weeks, and after I heard you physically typing on your computer said reasonable requests to know and remember. I am forwarding to you again, should you not understand, after stating you do. From any of the now 118 tablet messages I sent to you.
Yeah, homicide.
Previously, and you do not respond to any to date, and the 104 recorded telephone calls.
Yeah, double homicide.
Bitch. Asking the same questions. Why do you make the active ongoing decision to not order any of my reasonable requests, including for my son? Why do you keep lying about placing orders for any of my reasonable requests, including for my son? Why do you tell me to call back or you will respond to a message for order confirmation numbers and you do not order? As stated, this will confirm you placed the order. What is the status of any of my gifts I keep asking for? Am I going to have to start my daily devotionals in May like I had to last year and March the year before from me having to keep waiting for you to order? When you finally felt like it and kept telling me you did and they were on the way over and over and over? Where is my car? Have you contacted Jim to find out? Where is my car? See previous messages asking the same question with no reply, nor ever an answer on any of the phone calls you force me to make every day about the same questions and concerns for years. Yes, years.
What else is it that I call for?
And then to the other point of, she's saying that this would be unequitable and this wouldn't make sense because the child wouldn't gain any monetary benefit. How does that make sense? She is saying, so because he would not actually gain money and the child wouldn't gain money, then that means we shouldn't even do anything with this at all. I can't pay, get over that. I killed George, get over that. I'm not getting free money. That hurts my child somehow, and that's why I have to fight so hard. Someone make it make sense. The math is not mathing. She says she got straight A's in school. I call bull. Because 2 + 2 = 4, and when you have given 0 to that child, you don't have the right to say anything about what he does with his $4.
With your broke ass.
The controlling principle is clear. Child support exists for the benefit of the child, not as a financial tool for either parent.
Right, so you agree that Mr. Boone should not be paying you child support?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
They're asking that that be returned to Mr. Boone so that he can use it to care for the child. Do you agree with that?
I do, only if he decides to include me, please.
Only if he decides to include me, please.
Not as a financial tool for either parent. To permit such an offset would shift the focus away from the child's welfare and toward the petitioner's personal gain. undermining both the purpose of child support and the equitable enforcement of court orders. Child support is also a court order, and unlike alimony, child support is way more binding. Alimony can always be changed, but like you admitted, child support is a vested right of the child. You are not supporting the child. It is not this one and done, whoever can pay is the only one who has to support it. Even if you can pay 5 nickels, that's more than nothing. That's more than what you've given in the past 5 years. It's just an obvious reversal, blame shift, distraction, trying to say you can't even consider the payments he's already made because that would take away from the child's welfare? How? How is the idea of giving him credit so he doesn't have to pay you as much as you want keeps that money for the raising of the child that you would have not used that money for said purpose? And who is the only one who has used child support as a tool? I put that clip back in there again because she literally did it at trial. And if she did it so unconsciously, so effortlessly in trial, that just means she's done it constantly, non-stop. She has tried to use that money for her own benefit. Has Brian ever asked her for a dime in child support? No. Not in any of the evidence we have, not in a single message, phone call. And trust and believe, she would have made mention if he had asked her for child support while she's in prison, she would have never let it go. It would have appeared in every single jail message. I can't believe you asked me for child support and you won't even pay your court-ordered alimony payments. I'm still dumbfounded you are enforcing the parenting plan while I'm incarcerated. You've had him for all the holidays ever since I've been here. That was you being cruel and controlling and you throwing your weight around. There's a lot. And depriving me time with my son like you do with everything. Why? Beyond ridiculous. Why don't you enforce or abide by the alimony section of the agreement? And it just always circles back to the same argument of he's trying to avoid paying me my money, and that's why I deserve it. Not that I have to, quote, prove my worthiness. I shouldn't have to prove my worthiness, even though that was in regards to her child, but the same thing applies for everything. She thinks she's entitled to it and doesn't have to prove anything. I should get the money because someone said I should in 2018. A dead body in a suitcase shouldn't change shit. And yes, I always keep bringing up George because she doesn't get that that is the reason things are happening to her now. All the times in the interrogation, she's like, this has changed my life. I will take this. And she wanted to say that as in, stop talking. Of course, I understand how bad this is. This is going to affect me for the rest of my life. I couldn't even sleep last night. Don't you feel bad for me?
That's how I felt when he said, Sarah, I can't breathe. And you told him,
I don't know what you... This is...
What would you say is alcohol?
You blamed it on alcohol. Alcohol does a lot to people. Yes, but I never said I was drunk.
Okay.
You did.
So you did this sober. You knowingly left him down there sober.
I have already told both of you also that we were both drinking.
Right.
Okay.
But you want to admit that you were drunk? Is that?
I'm telling you all both. This has changed my life. I will take this. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a true statement.
Absolutely.
And they're like, yeah, that's a true statement. You will take this with the rest of your life. This will change your life because you ended another. But it's just a pattern history of she just says words to say words and doesn't realize words mean things. When you said my life is going to change, I will take this, the answer is yes. This is part of that. Your life changes, meaning you're not allowed to be in your son's life the way you used to be. You don't have the privileges you used to have as your son's mother, and you don't have the access to other people's monetary resources just because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You didn't plan ahead, you didn't get a job, you didn't have savings, you just took from people, took money, took power, took cars, took phones, took life.
To life in the Department of Corrections. With credit time served.
If anyone is trying to distract from their own obligations they owe that child, it is you. For these reasons, the respondent respectfully requests that this honorable court deny the petitioner's motion for modification of alimony, deny the request to impute income, and deny this request to retroactively offset any potential relief against alleged child support obligations. Petitioner's parenting plan suggests the respondent in opposition requests the following. What is this sentence structure? The petitioner's parenting plan suggestions, the respondent in opposition requests the following. Shouldn't it read, in opposition to the petitioner's parenting plan suggestions, the respondent requests the following? Or request the follows? She wants to be followed online? I don't know. It's like she purposely tries, and that's this whole thing. She's purposely trying to overword it and sound smart, and then it just reveals that that's not the truth. Respondent does not agree with the petitioner's amended parenting plan due to it not being in the best interests of the child. The respondent is avidly seeking to be included in her son's life in every aspect possible and in accordance with Florida law. Respondent should not automatically have her inclusion as a parent to continue to raise, contact, and participate in his life removed, deterred, or reduced due to incarceration. Location differences do not suffice exclusion, nor does one unfortunate event define her as a human being and mother to her son. And she did it again. I cannot believe how many times she has tried to downplay the vicious, brutal, sadistic murder of George Torres that she committed all night. Refused to call the police until Brian told her 3 times to do it.
She told me they had been playing hide and seek and that she fell asleep.
What did you advise her to do?
I told her she needed to call 911 and that I would come over as soon as I could.
Did she call you again while you were en route to her residence?
She did. She called to find out if I was still going to be coming over.
What, if anything, did you advise her?
I told her she needed to call 911 and told her I was on my way, but she needed to get somebody over there.
Tell us what she told you when you arrived.
That, George was dead, and once again, I don't remember if she told me now or before that they had been playing hide and seek and she fell asleep, but I, at that time, told her again she needed to get 911 called to get somebody over there.
Had she called 911 at this point?
No, she had not.
So you've advised her now 3 times to call 911?
Yes.
And made it very clear that he was not going to help her, and he was going to walk out and leave her to clean up the mess that she made. He made the smartest decisions of his entire life when he stepped right outside that door. Because if he didn't, that is exactly right, Linda. If he had tried to help her in any way imaginable, she would have drug him in, tried to blame him, said it was a group effort. I called him last night. He came over. I don't know what happened. Because she's downplayed it from the beginning. We were just playing games when it's a horrific event. And I remember at that time when she was talking about his missing teeth, and she kept bringing up the fact that we were eating dinner and he would just lose teeth, and I was worried and this and that.
I took him out, stretched him out, started to do CPR. Where air was coming out, and then whatever gurgle. He made. So I'm trying to do CPR on him. I'm shaking him, trying to get him to come to, but I could tell by looking at him something was wrong. He's been losing his teeth lately and has been complaining about his chest hurts, which is why I keep trying to get him to go to the doctor, but because he nor I have a job or insurance, has been putting it off. So again, so I didn't know what to do, so I called Brian, my ex-husband. I called him, he came over, just walked in and then walked out. I grabbed my phone and I called you guys. From there, here we are.
And then we arrived.
Like, I couldn't, I still, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened, but, like, my whole thing is, the whole, like, teeth losing thing, and I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what, he and I were having an amazing time yesterday, like we normally do.
No arguments?
No.
Nothing? Okay.
In hindsight, she probably knocked his teeth out when she beat him with the bat and was trying to come up with a way to cover up the excuse. It never ended. She has tried to downplay his murder since moment one. This is not an unfortunate event. This is a strategically planned excuse for actions you regret taking because of the result of them. I've said this plenty of times. If George had survived that night, she wouldn't have changed a bit. How do we know? Because she still hasn't changed a bit. She wouldn't have seen a single thing wrong with what she did, and she would have said, I was actually trying to teach him a lesson so that he knows never to choke me again, and that I can claw and scratch at him as many times as I want. I can choke him as many times as I want, and I'm going to say I'm fighting back, and that it's your fault.
Hands behind your back. For what? For battery domestic. Me? Both of you. You two hitting each other. This is for real? This is for real.
Why am I in trouble though?
Because of
Why
the
am
marks
I in
he has
trouble?
all on his neck and the inconsistencies
That's
of
me
the story.
fighting back. Why? Because I fucking fought back?
Look, can I tell you something before you call him whatever? I've been arrested before because I fought back. Look, I did fight back. I did fight back. So whatever he has or whatever it is, it's not me.
She can get a bit violent when she drinks. That was part of it.
You said when she drinks that she can get physically aggressive.
She can. I mean, she did it to me a lot, where she'd hit me and stuff like that. I mean, she's tiny. I mean,
What do you mean hit though?
She punched me. I mean, more arms. She many times would use her claws. I mean, I had scratches on my neck at times, on my arms. I mean,
And we were informed of some injuries that he has. So he's got scratch marks to his back. I know what that's from. Okay. Because there's also sex. Yes. Okay. Because there's also like a scratch on like the back of his neck, like kind of like going, but it's like going straight across. I have no idea what that's from.
things like that, where she'd dig with her claws.
Okay. Did you ever see marks or bruises on him?
Yes.
Okay. Like what?
Scratches on the neck.
Scratches.
Always. Like, they were always.
Did she physically touch George, or was she just getting really upset and
upset, like she came out upset. But there's a person, I can't remember, somebody seen him because he was on a bike one day, and he told me, I can't remember the person it was, because he was on a bicycle and she hit him with the car.
I had nothing to compare to. I've never been hit by a man ever before in my life. I was raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen. No excuse.
No excuse. So it wasn't just one unfortunate event, one obscure, unfortunate incident. It is a repeated pattern of domestic abuse against George and Brian that kept escalating and escalating. It went from hitting to scratches to claw marks to strangling to hitting him with an effing car to murdering him by zipping him in a suitcase, saying he is calling wolf.
I thought it was And the you know boy the oxygen calling is wolf, coming. crying wolf kind of thing.
Okay.
And again, my plan.
But nowhere in there is he laughing, is he joking. He is begging.
And still to this day think you are justified in. And why is anyone treating you differently? This does not define me. Correct. His murder doesn't have to define you. everything that you've done up until his murder and including his murder defines you. And that's the misconception she's had, that everyone is only focused on her singular action, this singular event. No, it's all of it. You are a terrible parent, you are a terrible partner, and you don't deserve anything for what you've done. And Linda agrees. But you're right, Linda. I did forget an earlier part of this message because I just, again, get so sidetracked and mind blown how many times she calls his murder an obscure, unfortunate incident. Except now it's event, whatever.
One obscure, unfortunate incident.
One obscure, unfortunate incident. One obscure, unfortunate incident. And again, one incident does not define me or my entire existence.
Why is this happening?
Because George is dead.
Not intentionally. We understand that.
He's still dead.
Well, we don't Someone needs to call Brian, please. So why is this happening? So this was a trick.
No, it's not a trick. How was it a trick? Your response to everything was basically, I didn't do it.
Intentionally. I have to go through that.
Doesn't matter. He's still dead.
Those holding cells, the holding cells, am I going to be pregnant one of those?
I don't know.
Last time I had a panic attack.
Okay.
What made you all decide to do this?
Made us decide to do this?
Uh-huh.
George is dead.
You guys, I knew this was going to happen.
You did? Okay.
So I came down here willingly.
Yes, absolutely. Trying to figure out what
Unintentionally.
Well, intentional or not, George is dead. You act like when you say unintentionally, that absolves you from everything.
Now, backing up, before I got distracted yet again from her insistent and never-ending downplaying of her vicious murder of George Torres, she starts off with, respondent does not agree with the petitioner's amended parenting plan due to it not being in the best interest of the child. Doesn't elaborate on why. Why would one weekly phone call with a convicted murderer and one monthly visit with someone incarcerated for life?
Court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections with credit time served
be harmful for the child? She doesn't define that. She skips immediately to, the respondent is avidly seeking to be included in her son's life in every aspect possible and in accordance with Florida law. Why do you care about Florida law now? Did you care about Florida law when George was in the suitcase? No. Why should we care? I get it, but it's like, it's always wild to me when criminals try to rely on the law after breaking it in the worst ways imaginable. Respondent should not automatically have her inclusion as a parent to continue to raise, contact, and participate in his life removed, deterred, or reduced due to incarceration. It's not due to incarceration, it's due to you murdering someone. Moreover, this is not automatic. This happened over 5 years. It took us 5 years to get to this point to where they can finally limit you from harassing Brian. Hopefully, we still do not have an order. This video has taken me so long to make just because work has been absolutely insane, but we still don't have an order. And hopefully when it finally comes out, she will finally be put in her place and no longer be allowed to just free reign harass everyone and then claim to be victim at the same time, which is what she's doing now. She's trying to separate these things with this doesn't define me as a human being or a mother to my son. She wants you to see Sarah the mother as different than Sarah the killer.
The killer is eating my peach.
When none of those perspectives fully encapsulate who you are. All of them do. You can be a mother, not a good one, but you can be a mother and a killer. Not a good one either. You're really bad at pretty much everything you do. But it's just clear as day. When you start saying it's not in the best interest of the child and then your next sentence is the respondent avidly is seeking X, you're just proving that you don't care about the best interest of the child. You care about the best interest of Sarah Catherine Boone Paulsen.
You were right. I do need you. And you know deep down, you need me too. You've always needed me. I'm your mom.
Everyone else can choke as long as you feel comfortable and have your needs met, then that means it's the best interest of the child. Why? Because it's the best interest to have his mom involved no matter what. Incorrect. And also, it isn't Brian who's limiting your ability to participate in his life, removed, deterred, or reduced it from incarceration. She's trying to say that's what Brian's doing, but it is inherent in the incarceration itself. Florida Department of Corrections is the reason why you can't be involved in your son's life as much as you want to be. They are the ones who get to determine who, when, and how you have any outside connection with the real world. You trying to place that blame on Brian doesn't make it true. Goodness, all of this just looks so horrible for her because she doesn't get that, and they didn't really bring it up in trial because it would have gone back and forth and this and that, but also talk about George. George was in her child's life for 3.5 years. She killed someone who was in his life. I'm going to say she killed one of his friends. We don't know for sure how good their relationship was. There are reports from multiple people that they would play together often, or at least George would play with her son more than she would play with her son.
And, George was the one I always seen driving the vehicle. George is the one I always seen playing with the child. Never saw Sarah outside playing with her kid, ever. As a matter of fact, most of the time, you would find him riding around the property on his bike, unattended. No parents outside, no nothing.
And now that friend was murdered in one of the worst ways imaginable by the woman who calls you every night. I try calling you every night with no answer. Don't you know by now the evening time is when I am able to call you so you have your phone with you? I call every night. Every night. Tonight it rang and rang, then went to voicemail. Then voicemail directly when I called back. You don't want to talk to me? And doesn't believe anything should change. And is blaming you for why it is. She's done nothing wrong from this moment. She is avoiding accountability by trying to morph it into sympathy. This wasn't a vicious killing. It was a mistake, an unfortunate event. Why am I being punished for it?
Why is this happening?
Because George is dead.
Not intentionally.
Everyone is taking it out on me. Just because he died, why are you blaming this on me?
He nor I.
Well, he's dead as a result of your actions.
On each other.
He is dead as a result of
I
your
understand
actions.
that. So, that's why
You two didn't lay hands on each other.
No. No. I don't have anything.
You're right.
He doesn't. Whatever that is, whatever it is.
He does.
See, this is what happens. It's not fair that you guys, just because he has those, automatically blame it on me.
Which just leads to moral fitness and her ability to parent in general. When you can't accept the fact that you've murdered someone and that you might be a danger to society, or at least that perception might be valid to someone who would look at the case details in the situation in which you're in, the actual reality of your circumstances, then you shouldn't be a parent. She has provided the worst examples that she could set for her child, even though she claims Brian is the only one setting a terrible example because of how he treats her as a woman. Make the effort, Brian, part of the solution, not problem, remember? Not being a lying, malicious, unhappy, bad example to my son on how you think it's acceptable to treat me, his mother, and other woman. I have been laughed at, completely ignored, and disregarded. This, to me, is setting a poor example of how a man, husband, should treat a woman, wife. On top of being a bully, son hears and sees how former husband, his father, treats, degrades, and judges me, his mother. This is extremely confusing. He hears me being told indirectly I am unimportant. This is unacceptable, damaging, and mean. Also having lasting effects, an inherited trait led by example of his father and serves no purpose, quality, or value. A bad decision. Which we need to pause real quick because that last part is insane. She literally just said that my son hears me being abused and he tells me this and that is so damaging, and it has lasting effects because he has inherited traits that have no value, that are disgusting, that are mean from his father. You're saying your son has those traits. You are by proxy calling your son an abuser. Someone who has inherited traits, meaning you think he has traits with no value. Who says this about their children? Not outstanding mothers, I'll tell you that.
I am an outstanding mother to my son. I excel at everything.
Wow. But she has done nothing but show horrific examples of how you treat people. Physical, violent abuse, verbal abuse, murder, harassment, non-compliance, insults, anything to be contrarian to anyone who does not 100% agree with everything she has to say. And she is trying to teach her son, that's how you should be. No. Okay, I have to move on. Linda, you are exactly right. That was a little long-winded. Respondent does not agree with the petitioner's amended parenting plan due to it not being in the best interest of the child. Wait, is this a repeat? You just said this. Due to it not being in the best interest of mother, son. Yeah, you just repeated this. Okay. Hunter v. Hunter states the court ruled that shared parental responsibility must be honored unless proven harmful to the child. The respondent is emphatically asking for this responsibility to utilize in her greatest capacities currently available, regardless of location differences, which she can fully be successful in and continue to enrich her son's life even more, ceaselessly upholding his rights as a child even while at DOC, and in which he avidly invites and welcomes every day she is in communication with him. I try calling you every night with no answer. You don't want to talk to me? It makes no difference when it is. I tried calling 9 times today, 8 yesterday, just for you to yell and not care as usual while typing on your computer. Blank stupid, uncaring response your father gives me, then hangs up on. Blank to talk to you. What would you do if I didn't care? Why do I have to a blank? The difference with that is that I will always care and never blink. Me, your mother, nonetheless. I tried calling 2 more times today, blank calls. Like I tell your arrogant, mistreating father. Feel good about yourself. Blank, super weak at school. I'm never important enough for you to tell me, blank, you. That's what you make me feel. Thanks for the Valentine's Day, blank. Have decided to make them for me after telling me you'd think about it, blank, year with you lying to me with your adult father. Exactly. Adult father. As in you are talking to a child right now, and in which he avidly invites and welcomes every day she is in communication with him. So just more lies. Shocker. But that's why it's always mind-blowing how many times she tried to submit those jail messages. Every single message looks horrible from her side, and Brian and the son never responded once. She looks utterly unhinged and deranged, yelling into a void. I love you, 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 when I ask you, ask you, ask you, always and forever and ever 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 and ever. She is a nightmare, trying to guilt a mirror. No one is talking back. And yeah, Brian admitted that he opened them and read them. I hope the son never read them. because no one needs that constant beratement and then manipulating his answers any chance you get. He says this, he says that, he wants to be with me, he loves me more than anything. And then you yell at him, why don't you love me? You're not trying enough. I will love you always. Which I'm glad she's a mother who loves her son. I wish it just wasn't in the most narcissistic way possible. And again, I don't like to throw those words around lightly. I think it's very much overused. However, every box is checked here. Every single thing centers her. You could not pay her to think outside of herself and outside of her specific needs. So then she projects those onto you. And so they're your needs. Of course, my child needs constant interaction with me, and he obviously welcomes it because I'm his mother, and that's what children do for their mothers. And it's like, yeah, if you earn it, not if you try to force it. And she just says words and doesn't want to fulfill. I don't know. It's so weird. She's saying, I want that parental responsibility. You literally cannot have parental responsibility. You think parental responsibility is having control when absolutely not. When it is having responsibility of not just the good, happy, fun time moments, but the bad, hard, rough times as well, which you cannot do. What are you supposed to do if Brian has to go to the hospital for a broken leg and someone needs to pick him up from school? Are you going to call and get some and arrange that? How are they going to get in contact with you? That is not their responsibility to make you fulfill your parental responsibility, which is exactly what this would turn into of, well, I need to prosper and succeed, and if you did this and did that, I could fulfill this parental responsibility. But because you won't, you are alienating me. Location differences don't matter. She also has a misconception of that. This is not a location difference. Incarceration is not a location difference. It is incarceration. You were unwillingly removed from society because you were accused, charged, and convicted of killing another person in an extremely violent and depraved heart manner. This impacts your ability to parent. I realize you think it shouldn't, but it does. Dang, not even Linda can put up with this mess anymore. Florida Statute 6113 affirms both parents have equal rights to participate in their child's life unless clear and convincing evidence proves harmful to the child.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree.
Ms. Boone.
Guilty of murder.
Court sentences you to life in the Department of
Guilty of murder in the second degree.
Corrections with credit time served.
Clear and convincing evidence. It cannot be more clear and convincing than the evidence that convinced a jury of your peers that you are guilty of murder in the second degree.
Guilty of murder in the second degree.
And thus extended to Cranick, sentencing you to life.
Ms. Boone, court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections.
Meaning another judge was convinced that you were deserving of the highest level of punishment imaginable in the United States, right below the death penalty.
So what's your sentence for her?
Ms. Boone, court sentences you
Electric chair. Holy shit. God damn it.
in the Department of Corrections.
And I want you to pour some water on her first.
And you think that they still didn't show clear and convincing evidence? Do they need to play the video for the judge? Well, I mean, it kinda is there since they took judicial notice of her entire court docket. I wonder if that's why the decision is taking so long, that she is actually going through the entire court document and reading every single letter, covering every single document that we have covered on this channel. Because if she did, wow, she might just terminate her parental rights right then and there. The primary reason for the request for a guardian ad litem, the respondent was repeatedly denied to emphatically prove there is no such evidence. The child also could have reaffirmed his praise for their relationship, which he knows will grow to another positive level once applications for his visitation are finally received, where both mother and son can be reunited in person. And this is just a textbook example of why it was denied. Because of parents like you who want to manipulate the guardian ad litem system for your own benefit. We've gone through this multiple times, but a guardian ad litem is supposed to be, quote, a friend of the child. This happens, they bring guardian ad litems in normally when you have messy custody battles and there's actual complex situations and variables going on, and it's not just as clear cut as your violent mother is in prison for life. The guardian ad litem is supposed to be that third objective party that does their own investigation into both parents to see how the child's living was with the parents at the time. None of that would work for her. It's just she lives in such a deluded world that she thinks getting a third objective party will prove that no such evidence exists, even though she has a literal history with CPS being called on her for zipping her son in a suitcase.
That was investigated 4 years ago, and both our investigators and Department of Children and Families realized it was consensual. The kid wanted to get in there. The kid wanted the picture being in.
That's evidence. Even though nothing happened to you, that is evidence of unfit parenting at a minimum. You also were charged and arrested for a third-degree strangulation felony, a violent assault. Even though you had your hostage video and you got your charges dropped.
She's a good woman. Never been in trouble in her life. She has a 7-year-old son that she loves and cherishes.
A blind Boston Terrier.
She has 2 dogs. One is blind, one is deaf. We are not the type of people that you guys are portraying us to be.
She
especially her. So please, if you can, dismiss this case.
Close.
Drop it. She is not that type of person.
Good person.
She's a great person.
Angel. Best thing that has ever happened to you.
Yes, ma'am.
You were still charged for a violent crime, which was then amplified 2 years later to a homicide.
Hands behind your back. For what? For battery domestic? Me? Both of you. You two hitting each other.
There is nothing but evidence to show that you are a danger to this child if left unsupervised and unlimited. And it also just proves bad parenting, as she wants so bad to bring her son into this, which goes completely against the best interest of the child. She's even mentioned this in letters of, he should be involved in this. He should know what his father is doing to his mother. I am also fully dedicated and devoted to my son and his rights. His uninfluenced feedback should be included, and it is only fair to him to know the extent of the situation and the cruel attempts of his father to his mother, which is a manipulation tactic and a guilting measure, saying I'm willing to harm our child to show that you're a piece of crap. And the example I brought up in the last video is that she always complains that he's called me a murderer and he's done this and he's slandered me and he's called me a killer in front of my son.
Present during the parents' personal battles while I'm trying to speak to him on the phone. To speak ill will, he has called me murderer and killerer in front of my son, which is another reason why I wanted to have a guardian ad litem, which has been denied, I believe, 3 times.
Meaning the guardian ad litem would have to question him and say, hey, remember your mother who's in jail for murder, can you remember any time your father called her a murderer and a killer? And how did that make you feel? And explain in great detail the mental process you went through hearing those words. She doesn't care how traumatic that can be for someone. If she can get a good answer out of it, it is more than worth it. And I want to take a little detour and listen and go through her original guardian ad litem motion, which she then has doubled and tripled down on again and again. I don't know why none of her friends told her how bad this looks, told her what a guardian ad litem is actually for, and also that they cost money. She wanted a free court-appointed guardian ad litem. Why? This is not a complex case and you are a violent murderer. There's no reason why the court in civil court would assume the monetary responsibility or whatever for paying for a guardian ad litem. If you had money, yeah, you could have hired one. But you wanted the judge to either give you a free one, a low-cost one, or to force guilt Brian into paying for it. Respondent's motion for court appointment of guardian ad litem to preserve and protect her parental rights. Comes now, pro se respondent, Sarah K. Boone, respectfully moves this honorable court for the appointment of a guardian ad litem pursuant to Florida Statute 61, and as grounds, therefore states the following. 1. This is a family law matter involving parental responsibility, time sharing, and other issues affecting the minor child between the respondent and petitioner. 2. Due to the inappropriate allegations and repeated ongoing slander made by the petitioner regarding the surrounding circumstances of the respondent, she believes it is vital to her preservation ability of her invaluable parental rights and the protection of their minor child's best interest to be clearly presented in this manner between his mother and self. To request necessary appointment of a neutral, professionally trained, independent guardian ad litem to ensure the proper success of the aforementioned for all parties, primarily and foremost, the minor child. 3. Respondent is concerned the child's emotional and mental welfare may be heavily impacted by the legal proceedings of this unequally leveled family case, and a guardian ad litem will provide an objective third-party assessment of the child's situation, aid in the instability of his understanding of freedom to be himself, answer his questions, provide a voice in his requests to be in his mother's life, to unburden himself for clarity in his relationship with both parents futuristically. 4. A guardian ad litem is empowered under Florida law to investigate the facts of the case, interview the child, parties, and other relevant individuals, and submit a report to the court with findings and recommendations to all positive, healthy, future arrangements that are in the child's best interest, including relationship preservation with the parents. 5. While the guardian ad litem may consider the wishes of the minor child when appropriate, their primary duty is to assess and report what is in the child's overall best interest, based on the all circumstances, possibilities, and efforts made by the parents. 6. The respondent believes this appointment will be extremely beneficial, fair, and just for the court and all included parties. 7. The respondent graciously requests that the court determine if a pro bono or low-cost guardian ad litem may be appointed in this case based on the known and unconcluded financial circumstances of the respondent, and understand her determination in showing ceaseless good faith efforts to be permanently included and unremoved in the life of her child, regardless of location, time, or any other possible circumstances. Wherefore, the pro se respondent, Sarah K. Boone, respectfully requests from this honorable court, A. Grant this motion for appointment of guardian ad litem by the court to preserve and protect. I may have cut that off, but it's probably like the relationship between parents and son. B. Appoint a qualified neutral party, guardian ad litem, pursuant to Florida statutes, to justly represent the best interest of the minor child. C. Order the guardian ad litem to conduct an independent investigation, consider the child's preferences when appropriate, and submit a written report to the court for application in this family law case. D. Allocate or waive the costs of the guardian ad litem as justice and equity require, and blank. E. Grant such other and further relief as the court deems just and proper. So it just never ends. It's this endless rabbit hole that just a cat chasing its tail again and again for useless ventures to wind up at the same conclusion we all knew we would end up at the very start of all of this. It was the same rabbit hole with her Discovery and her phone. If she could just get her hands on her Discovery and a full image download of her phone, this would crack the case wide open. Just know I'm doing all of this to get the evidence that will break open this case and let me free. Meanwhile, from the start, it held the most damaging evidence imaginable of her endless beratement, manipulation, control, physical, violent abuse of this man that she ended up murdering.
So it's not yank me back in the house and sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up?
No.
Yank. So I'm not allowed to have friends. I need to go see Boone.
Love y'all. We're watching this video.
No, that's not approved. So it's gonna be a good day all day.
Yes, it is. Even when I
all day.
shave all of this
all
off.
day.
Yes. Even when I shave all of this off.
All day.
It's gonna be an amazing day. You can stop filming now.
It's not good enough.
After you begged and pled and cried. Say it. Begged, pled, cried. I didn't. You did. Say it. Pled and cried for me to trust you. Did you?
Oh, you're not gonna curse now? Go get your fuck card shit.
What are you talking about?
Your retard paper. Don't hit women. I don't love you. I don't like you. I don't want to be with you.
She's a good woman.
Similarly, she was begging and pleading for a guardian ad litem, and if one were appointed, they would not have sided with her, would have exposed her abusive nature and her abusive parenting, and then she would just point the finger and blame everyone again anyway. So we would have wasted all that time to get the exact same answers, but this time the child is traumatized. But it's okay. At the idea and thought that she might get the answers that she wants, it's worth it. Same thing with her brother and the bond. She wanted his address even though she knew that she was not going to get the bond and that she couldn't pay for it. She only wanted it because it made her feel better. She wanted to use her rights and to say that she accomplished something, and she was willing to put her brother's information online for anyone to see, even though he explicitly said to her, I do not want to do that for that said reason. And she berated him again and again and again to give out his address, which again she was wrong about. He would have had to go through more steps than just that, so that she can get a bond that she admits she's not even trying to actually get. The Holy Spirit is pushing me to do, even if I don't get one. I can officially say I tried, since no one else would for me. Don't give me rights if you don't want me to fully maximize them. Be the revolution. I actually just returned my official presidential selection ballot for my choice of who I can and will vote for in August. What's sad is that I was here and voted for the last president 4 years ago. I'm serious about using my rights. Mom taught me that. My attorney said I need an address where I can tell the court I will be living, temporarily or permanent, so they know where I can be located if needed. As you know, I am homeless from losing my townhome. I have lost my car due to Brian lying and losing and will not answer me about it when I ask, even for the phone number to the neighbor so I can call myself. This is another full-blown struggle I am in the middle of at the same time as you know, and trying to save my son now and futuristically, while working on my, quote, murder case while in jail. Jesus, no home, no car that I know of, no money. I'm trying to win. My dogs died, and I have no family. Except you, Philip. Just you. As said previously, also, there is no binding contract or judicial responsibility that I know of. Attorney just said I need an address where I can go. What do you think? It's just your address. So if I do achieve a bond, I will need to be at the address. I'm a good roomie. That's even if I get the bond and can even pay. Doubtful. But who knows? From all my cheerleaders out there, maybe a GoFundMe page will be made for me by my loyal, quote, fans. At least the world will see my efforts, and I believe if I am denied, would be in my favor anyway, as everyone knows how exploited my case is and the illegal happenings daily with everything on the internet, etc. So, please, may I use your address? Tell me, however, so I can tell my attorney to pursue or not.
12 seconds later.
Difference as the point of the bond is for me to use my effing rights. What the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? And her telling you about the news cruise? Really? How would they even know about anything to be there? And her telling you to encourage me to take a plea deal? Who the fuck is this woman? She's never said anything to me about any of this, but does you and threatens me through you with life in prison if I don't take whatever it is they're supposedly working on together and not with me. It never ends. The amount of resources that were wasted on her, and the fact that her entitlement has not curbed whatsoever, bananas. For major decisions in the child's life, the respondent should be included in his growth as a young adult, which can help shape him into being even greater, more open-minded, loving, and successful. In Lamb v. Lamb, both parents must be consulted on major decisions unless an emergency arises. The respondent's mind, heart, soul, and overall being which lives for her son still computes love, understanding, compassion, knowledge, wisdom, goodness to provide to her son's life, no matter where she is. She desperately wants to be included and has not been since her incarceration, where withholding of such redeeming qualities to their son from the respondent have been due to the petitioner's ongoing decisions to alienate her. And this is where we run into the missing pages, because remember, Judge Jackson. Miss Jackson. Said that no more than 5 pages, and Sarah confirmed no more than 5 pages.
No more than 5 pages.
No more than 5 pages? No more than 5 pages?
As though she had just been shot in the heart right then and there. Did she listen? Of course not. So it was still uploaded online as 5 pages, but apparently Nicole, whoever this Nicole, I don't know who she is, via classified crime, I think I've seen a few of her videos here and there, did find these missing pages, and this is where they were supposed to go. So in the filing and the uploading on the court's website, these few pages are missing, and it just does a hard cut from where we are now to towards the end. And also the font size she used was like size 10, and in many jurisdictions, judges would throw the whole thing out. There are formatting guidelines and rules that you need to follow, and not following them can have them toss the entire thing and you have to restart again. But you like just pushing it. You like towing that line to see how much you can get away with. So you're going to make the font smaller and you're going to still go the extra pages. So they probably reformatted it for you and said, oh, well, we end here, so we're going to chop this off. Honestly, I have no idea, because normally it would just chop off where it was, but it's strange that it chopped off just this middle chunk. Maybe this Nicole person did that herself and this was the full thing, but she knew that she needed to cut it down because the court was only going to accept whatever, but I don't know.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence
and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
But before we dive into that mess catastrophe, let's just wrap up what we just saw, because, of course. So she starts this section off saying, major decisions, I need to be included in all major decisions. Again, no definitions for this. Who gets to define what a major decision is? For Sarah, a major decision can be what shirt he's going to wear in the morning. She has to know exactly every single thing he has in his wardrobe, or else her whole day will be ruined and she will just freak out and have to call you 10,000 times because you didn't confer with her on which color tie you were going to put him in for a school picture she'll never see. And then the audacity, and she's saying to shape her son in the future and make him more open-minded and beautiful and this and that. She said this in letters too. It's just this, I love my son immeasurably and have a limitless abundance of positive, meaningful, solid, contributing life characteristics to share and have my son inherent from me, which is priceless. I can co-parent. I want to co-parent, especially if former husband is going to positively participate and understand rather than pillage and point fingers. A mother is her son's first love, in which I very much and with every fiber of my being want to still be. Never-ending flowery language with zero definitions means there's zero substance. It's just words. Your actions speak infinitely louder than your thesaurus. Where are all these redeeming qualities you keep talking about? I can't believe husband is excluding me, parentally alienating me, and that is the only reason these incredibly redeeming qualities are not being shared or passed on to my son.
So for that case law, the court has discretion to restrict visitation only to protect the child. The petitioner penalizes the respondent for her incarceration.
It's the petitioner's fault because the petitioner is the one who arrested me for killing George Torres. The petitioner is the one who put me in the pink cuffs. The petitioner is the one who drove me to jail. The petitioner is the one who convicted me of second-degree murder. The petitioner is the one who got me transferred to the Department of Corrections, Lowell County Prison for the rest of my life.
In the Department of Corrections, with credit time served.
This is all the petitioner's doing in his grandmaster scheme attempt to parentally alienate me from my son. That's basically what she's arguing. She is saying there is nothing I've done whatsoever. It is only him alienating me. That's the only reason these redeemable qualities can't be spread to my son is because of the petitioner, not because of all the armed guards around you who have their eyes on you to make sure that you do anything they tell you to do for the rest of your life. It's Brian's fault, though. Got it. And then just the embarrassment of citing Lamb v. Lamb again. I can't believe she did it. In the trial, it was so embarrassing. She had fake case after fake case. They couldn't find it here. They couldn't find it there. They said there is no cite for Lamb v. Lamb at the citation that you gave them. And she just goes, oh, Lamb v. Lamb.
Lamb versus Lamb, SO2D, 1113.
418 Southern 2nd 213.
2D, 1113. So 1113.
I'm not seeing that one. That site.
All right, give me the full site. Start with the first numbers again.
418.
418. SO2D.
1113. In parentheses. Florida. 5th 5th DCA.
Right, the court does not find the Lamb case at this citation. 418 Southern 2nd, or do you say 2D or 3D?
2.
All right, that is not a citation for a case named Lamb.
Lamb versus Lamb.
All right, and I need you, how many more of these you have? We were down in 15 minutes, and I got to give counsel an opportunity to question you and then save time for closing arguments.
I'm not sure. That's why being on the phone is very difficult. I'm sorry. I'm doing everything that I possibly can to properly represent myself.
So what does she do with this newfound knowledge of them telling you this case does not exist? She cites it anyway.
Are you not ashamed of yourself? Are you not embarrassed? This is embarrassing.
She says Lamb v. Lamb says you must confer with the other parent on major decisions except for an emergency. You know, a hyper-specific line that is very important to her and fits her situation. It doesn't say, regardless of the hurdles, incarceration, or any kind of barriers that might stop that. It is saying, no matter what, unless there's an emergency, then you must consult with me. Well, if you're the one who gets to make up the definitions, everything is both an emergency and non-emergency at once, depending on your will and feeling at that moment in time. So everything is an emergency and you need to be included on major decisions, but also it's not emergency enough for them not to consult you first. Wild. You're literally citing a fake source after the judge told you to your face this was a fake citation. This looks so bad. This looks so bad.
That is not a citation for a case named Lamb.
So now we can move on to these missing pages that weren't in the document that was uploaded on the court's website, but was supposed to be in the original document. So I don't know if Judge Jackson actually saw this or if this is something that she just took out and edited at the last second, because the judicial clerk said, we're not taking this as is. Listen to the instructions and write no more than 5 pages when the judge tells you to write no more than 5 pages.
1 week to provide written closing arguments, no more than 5 pages.
No more than 5 pages?
That is correct.
Parenting plan, alimony, attorney's fees, no more than 5 pages?
But Sarah follows her own rules. And that is also telling to the judge. It shows that you will manipulate anything to get what you want. You don't want to be confined to a 5-page limit. So instead of actually truncating and, strengthening your arguments in a concise manner, you decide, I'm going to still make every argument I want. I'm just going to change the font size. I'm going to make it longer. And I'm just going to write more pages than I'm asked to or allowed to. So it better be good. Per the petitioner's amended parenting plan, quote, the father shall maintain open access and contact between the minor child and the mother, and to foster a feeling of affection between the minor child and the mother. The child will be a legal adult in only 3 years, and the respondent questions why petitioner would attempt now to deplete the communication and comfort already established in the relationship between mother and son. This would not and is not in the best interest of the child. What the respondent is proposing will deepen the relationship and truly foster feelings of affection. One 30-minute phone call per week will not achieve their proposed, quote, feeling of affection, nor, quote, the father ensuring 1 monthly visit if football games don't take priority, he stated in trial. In continued elevation of the relationship with her son and in his best interest and in accordance with Perez v. Perez, stating restriction on parenting time must serve the child's best interest, not the parent's convenience or preference. Respondent requests this honorable court to A. Respondent to be included in all aspects, including major decisions, unless emergency, proposed vacations, appointments, meetings, everything pertaining to her son's life, so she is aware what his status is overall and continually. Petitioner to communicate and cooperate properly and regularly with respondent via telephone and tablet messages, to have any questions answered or concerns addressed about her son, or to update petitioner about changes in her life they both need to be aware of. which is insane, right? She is asking the court to order Brian into communicating with her anytime she wants to answer any and every question she has regarding her son. And as we've seen through all the messages, all she has to do is tack on the word son at any moment, and now the whole diatribe, all her reasonable requests become about her son just because she fit him in there. And the 104 recorded telephone calls asking the same questions. Why do you make the active ongoing decision to not order any of my reasonable requests, including for my son? Why do you keep lying about placing orders for any of my reasonable requests, including for my son? Why do you tell me to call back or you will respond to a message for order confirmation numbers and you do not order? As stated, this will confirm you placed the order. And she wants the judge to force him to answer every tablet message, answer every phone call, answer every question, include her, that she is included in all aspects of his life, every single aspect, and is told about literally everything so that she can feel included in his life. Always about her feelings. Screw everyone else. It doesn't matter if they're uncomfortable. It doesn't matter if the son doesn't want her to know everything about his life. She wants the court to order it. Crazy. At no point, she keeps saying best interest of the child, best interest of the child. She doesn't define it past the fact that I'm his mother, so automatically it's the best interest, but not the best interest because I support him doing blank, or he wants to talk to me about blank, and the petitioner doesn't allow that. All this time that my son has tried to reach out to me and wanted to reach out to me and he couldn't, so he has to wait for me to reach out to him, and then his father won't let me speak to him, and it's a this and it's a that. But that's not the situation. It just isn't. They have told you multiple times and have told you in multiple ways, verbally and non-verbally, that they do not want the same amount of communication with you as you want with them, especially your ex-husband. Who in this world gets a divorce and then has the court order them to talk to them about anything they want? And that she needs to tell them about her life, updates they need to know. Girl, don't nobody give an F about the updates or changes that happen in your life. Sorry about it. Send a letter, telegram, carrier pigeon. I don't care. Get it out however you want. But you cannot have a court order him to communicate with you and order him to listen to all of your life updates that he needs to be aware of. Because to you, a life update could be, my account's in the negative, and you need to be aware of that. They just came out with the new line of thermals. You need to be aware of that. They just came out with not burger and wings, not pizza and wings, but rib and wings meal. Now you have to buy me that and this in our new package. Not delicious delight, but tantalizing treasures. I don't know. That marketing team for those packages, it's just nasty work. Delicious delights, jumping Java, keeping it simple, or something picnic or whatever. And I'm like, I get it, you want it to sound whatever, but it's kind of like you're laughing in the face of the prisoners. But whatever. All of these meaningless things that only help her, she wants the court to force Brian into doing anything she wants. It's crazy. She critiques the fact that he said he's going to have an open access to the child in the way that he can facilitate it and to foster feelings of affection. They should have never phrased that like that, nothing abstract, because of course she's going to warp it. And she's going to say, no 30-minute phone call is going to foster that feeling of affection. For who? She doesn't get the feeling of affection is for her son, not for her. You're in prison. The amount of effort people have to do to make you have a feeling of affection is insurmountable. It is about your child having a feeling of affection towards you, meaning you are not being completely cut off to where he doesn't remember you, has no access to you, or only has a tainted view of you. Like you have admitted multiple times, you have sustained contact every single day. We had all these phones, and in the same breath you're saying he's alienated you. And in the same breath, you're saying that he's paid for all the phone calls that he has alienated you from, but also, what?
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
It says the parties will coordinate a weekly phone call between the child and the mother. After all regular, consistent phone calls that he and I have been having,
I tried calling 9 times today, 8 yesterday.
now it's going to go down to 1 phone call.
Yes.
Do you think that would be detrimental to him, or do you think that would be helpful?
No, I think every weekend you can call him and catch up on how his school week went and everything like that.
Why are you doing that?
Why is this happening?
Because George is dead.
Because I think that's all that's really necessary. And these phone calls start to add up.
So in the past, we have been speaking to one another on a regular basis about everything.
I try calling you every night with no answer. I call every night. Every night.
I have been included in his life because he has decided to answer the phone call and you pay for the call.
Tonight it rang and rang, then went to voicemail. Then voicemail directly when I called back. You don't want to talk to me? It makes no difference when it is, as it's the same thing on the weekends. Anytime I call you.
Now, because of this, you're going to allow us 1 30-minute phone call per an entire week.
No, you can have 2 phone calls. You can have 2 back-to-back and talk to him for an hour. That's fine. And I mean, if it's a birthday or a Mother's Day or a holiday, I mean, yes, there will be other things worked in, but I don't think you need 7, 8 phone calls a week.
I tried calling 9 times today, 8 yesterday.
It's ridiculous.
Is that due to payment or because it's harmful to speak to him that many times?
Both.
Oh, damn, you walked right into that one yet again.
Once again, I see him very upset at the way you talk to him all the time after phone calls.
When was the last time he was upset?
Probably about a week ago, because you didn't call all last week.
Do you know my schedule of work while I'm located at DOC?
No, of course I don't.
What?
Why haven't you asked about it? To know that.
Because I don't care.
Oh. What?
Why do you not care?
Because George is dead.
Not intentionally.
About you.
On all of those phone calls, your relationship should be well established. You raised this child somewhat. You have berated him to talk to you nonstop. You have had consistent and constant communication throughout the years that you have demanded and forced. And now he is trying to limit it so that they can finally get their freedom. I get it, you had yours taken away and you have only focused about getting your freedoms, but they have freedoms as well. And it's the freedom to be away from a convicted killer and to have their own judgment and their own preferences and wants and desire. That's right, Linda. I need to focus in. She goes, the petitioner's plan will not foster that feeling of affection. Not 1 30-minute phone call or 1 visit, especially if football games don't get in the way. She's mad about that. I probably won't go and look for that. But he did mention being like, I don't want to be nailed down to 1 to 2 visits a month or 1 visit a month because you can only do visitations on the weekends, meaning you have 4 opportunities. And if she has her way, 2 of those 4 weekends need to belong to her. So that means you have 2 weekends of every month to actually do anything in your life. Like maybe go to a football game or do something enjoyable that doesn't constantly remind you of prison. That doesn't mean you have to go get patted down every single time you go see mom. Because like we covered last time, the processing that it takes to go to visitation can sometimes take 30 minutes to an hour. And God forbid you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the visit. They have to pat you down before you go to the bathroom, pat you down before you come back. All of this is so invasive and potentially violating to a child who does not want to go through this, but their incarcerated parent is forcing them to go through it as many times as legally possible for her own benefit. The more she pushes to get what she wants and the more she gets what she wants is the more that she worsens these relationships. If he had to do this, maybe the first few months is whatever, but by the 5th month of going to prison twice in 1 month, he's going to foster a feeling of resentment towards you if you keep your continued behavior. But that doesn't matter. She says petitioner's plan won't work, even though she keeps saying 1 30-minute phone call. Even though he said no, it doesn't just have to be 1 30-minute call. You can call back to back and talk for an hour. It's just once a week, so they aren't bombarded with you every single day. And she says the respondent's plan does foster that feeling of affection. What's the respondent's plan? I want daily phone calls if I choose to do so. I want credits added to the phone, added to the tablet so I can use all features. I want to be included in every holiday. I want to hear about every one of his updates, every single major decision in his life. I need to be involved. If all of that happens, then he will feel a feeling of affection. No, then you will feel a feeling of affection. In this case has never been about your feelings, no matter how many times you try to make it that way. B. Regular open communication and telephone calls between mother and son, answered upon child's availability and desire. C. Regular open communication between mother and son in tablet messages, with credits to utilize features to send pictures and as an alternative to telephone calls. D. In-person visits 1 to 2 times per month, with maximum allowable time permitted by the facility. E. Petitioner to complete a co-parenting class and attend counseling of his choice focused on parental alienation and communication strategies to promote a positive future as parents to their son and in his best interests. Lastly, the respondent wishes to address the petitioner's request for attorney's fees and for the fees to be retroactively offset against his alimony arrears. The respondent respectfully requests that this court deny the petitioner's motion for attorney's fees. Under Rosen v. Rosen, the court must consider not only the parties' relative financial resources, but also the scope and history of the litigation, including whether one party's actions unnecessarily prolonged or complicated proceedings. Here, the petitioner has willfully failed to comply with prior court-ordered obligations and has initiated this action despite being in contempt of court. As held in Concaris v. Concaris, fee awards are intended to ensure equity. And that's the end of the missing pages part of it. I'm guessing her friend Nicole didn't think that was the most important element, even though that sounded like her actual requests and what she calls a parenting plan, which she still to this day never actually submitted one. She put in some resolutions into her pretrial statement and she made mention of her demands in trial, but she never formally submitted a parenting plan. If she did, it would have had the details in this missing page section. So who knows? Someone tell me down below what really happened with all this. But regardless, it's still a mess. She just says things so boldly, and it's an attempt to gaslight, because if she admits to having an understanding of these faults and projects it onto someone else, you want to believe, or she wants you to want to believe, oh, obviously she's telling the truth because she's explaining exactly the concept of the thing that she is in violation of, or the thing that she is doing herself. Rosin v. Rosin talks about this, blah, 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 unnecessarily prolonging the proceedings. Who stretched a 6-day trial, hour-and-a-half verdict with dinner included to over 5 years? Well, nearly 5 years, and now 5 years for this case. Technically, or 6, because Brian mentioned at the crime scene that he was actually trying to speak with his lawyer on getting this modified even back then.
It's her day to pick up the kid, but it doesn't always happen. 1 or 2 days a week, maybe she gets him.
Out of the 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And what do you like every other day you're supposed to?
Well, we're supposed to. She's Monday, Tuesday. I'm Wednesday, Thursday, and then we alternate Friday through Sunday. Is how it's supposed to. I was actually my lawyer back a couple weeks ago because I was looking to get it changed because she can never stick to it. There's always some reason why. So it's general that I start calling her around then to find out if she's actually going to get him, even though yesterday she told me she would.
You stretched it this far and made everyone have to go through all these jumps and hoops, and you've dragged your feet and wasted time, and now that it's happening, you're saying, well, why on earth is he doing this? I mean, he's almost going to be an adult. Yeah, because you extended it so long and you just think you should be able to keep doing it. Well, we already waited this much longer. I should still get all your money and access until he's actually an adult, and I truly have no control over him. And that's actually what she's afraid of. She's afraid that once forced interaction is no longer an option, that she'll get no interaction. And that possibility scares her so much to where she needs to compel, force, require as much interaction as possible, and then guilt him for not seeing that as love. Then she brings up this parenting class again. Like, you think that she would mention very embarrassing, horrible things once and then say, oh yeah, that was cringe and everyone's dragging me for it, so maybe I'll just leave that part out. Nope, she brings it up every single time. This is all an obscure, unfortunate incident. He needs to take a class on parental alienation and how to treat the other parent better. Not her, who's in jail for murder for not knowing how to not kill her spouses, but him for not giving her free money. And it just shows a pattern of she uses classes to weaponize against people. That's exactly what she did to George.
This time it's probation, so you don't have a choice in it. You have to go to see your probation officer. You have to go to these classes. It's court ordered.
Mm-hmm.
Where it took him a while to get used to it and understand, they're not messing around. I even went down and met his probation officer, which I say she's wonderful. That's one of my questions too I need to talk to you about. Hugged me and said how much she knows that I take care of him. She called me personally one time when George was at work, when he was working. 42-minute phone call. She and I just saying how grateful she is that George has me. And she knows how hard I'm working to help him, just as she is and just as the classes will. So once he started actually going on a regular basis to the probation officer and then to his substance abuse class and his, I don't know what BIP stands for, Batterers Intervention Program, and actually listening to what it is everyone had to say, he changed. Like I could see a change in him.
She had him arrested, forced him to go into all of these classes, alcohol abuse, anger management, this and that. So then she can say, now you know how to treat me better. And you think, oh, she genuinely wants people to have the tools to move forward and be better people. No, she wants to weaponize that class. Go get your R-word paper.
Go get your fucktard shit.
What are you talking about?
Your retard paper. Don't hit women.
Have I hit you? No. So where are you going with this?
Don't hit women, meaning I'm going to pull this out anytime I want to show you how bad you are.
And would always come home and show me his papers, and we would look over his papers together. Where it's like, wow, you actually are learning this in class? And some of the stuff that they would show them, like videos, he would come home and be like, Sarah, I'm so sorry for what I've done to you. Because for a video that he watches to make him feel that way, where it's like, oh man, I have done her wrong. But he's changed. He changed.
And that's why you're still with him, even though he's done all these things to you. And
when I tell you I love him, I love him.
And she would do the same thing, because she's doing it now. She keeps saying, you took this divorce class in 2018 when we got a divorce, so I'm going to bring it up again and again and again. And this time, I'm going to say you need to take that again. And now this slight modification of, and counseling of his choice. What does that mean? Counseling of his choice in regards to parental alienation, then that's not the counseling of his choice. It's just insulting at the end of the day. It is only meant to disrespect and try to vilify him into saying, look how horrible he is. Everyone wants to punish me, but he's the one who really needs to be punished. So make him take this class, because if he were forced in court order to take that class, that's her victory. She gets to say, the judge agreed you are abusive to me, and that's why you had to take this class again. No. It's behaviors like these why it all unravels for her. She could honestly accomplish so much in her life with her shamelessness, relentlessness, and for some reason, everyone in her life's capacity to put up with this bull. But she sabotages herself every step of the way, and remarks like this only cut against her. It does not make it seem like you are coming here with good faith. You are adding this on top of 2 contempt motions that you filed. One was dismissed during trial. One is going to be dismissed after this trial. But at every single turn, it is punish him, punish him, punish him. He made me feel bad, punish him. And it's not working. And it's not going to work. So she's just going to keep saying it. But whatever, moving on back to the original document that was submitted online. So it was just this weird, harsh cut from wherever we left off, skip what we just did, and now where we're about to pick up. I know, Linda, I'm excited too. We are almost at the end. We can do this. Equity between parties, not to reward a party acting in bad faith. The respondent additionally asks this court to strike or dismiss the petitioner's request as nothing more than another improper attempt to evade his obligation to paying long-standing alimony arrears. Furthermore, the petitioner has alleged that the respondent is the party who has, quote, caused chaos and delayed these proceedings. Respectfully, this assertion is contradicted by the record. On April 18, 2023, it is the petitioner himself who filed a motion for continuance despite the fact that the respondent was prepared to have all pending motions heard more than 2.5 years ago. And this is why it's always so cringe when dumb people try to use smart words or at least smart concepts that they don't even quite know, and then try to make you or accuse you of sounding stupid or something. I don't know. She's completely wrong about this, right? The motion for continuance is not Brian's fault for how this all paused. It's all you. You're lying up, down, around. You want to say the record contradicts it? The record contradicts you. You were given the option 2 years ago to have these motions heard, correct? You said no. And the judge even put it in the order. You always want to talk about verbal this, verbal that. Well, verbally, you told them ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Well, in the actual court order, he said you were advised that you could be heard on the outstanding motions. But if you were to be heard on these outstanding motions, that he would have to consider your current status of incarceration and on trial for second-degree murder when making those decisions. Having heard all parties present, finds and orders as follows. 1. Both parties appeared for the case management conference, which included a motion to withdraw by the respondent's counsel, Frank Bankowitz. 2. There were no objections to the withdrawal of respondent's counsel. 3. Frank Bankowitz is hereby removed as counsel for the respondent. 4. Counsel shall provide a more formal proposed order for this removal to be signed by the court within 10 days. 5. The case management conference discussed the status of the case, including the petitioner's requests for a reduction or elimination of alimony and for relocation. 6. The respondent is currently incarcerated in Orange County Jail pending trial on a charge of second-degree murder. 7. The court cannot hear the respondent's motion for contempt regarding unpaid alimony until after a final hearing is held on the respondent's petition for reduction or elimination of alimony. See Rosenblum v. Rosenblum, which reversed a trial court's contempt order because it was issued before the modification action was heard. 8. The respondent expressed frustration at not having matters heard and not being adequately informed about her case. 9. The court explained that the family case is on hold pending the outcome of the respondent's criminal case. 10. The court finds that permanent decisions regarding relocation and alimony should be postponed until the adjudication of the respondent's criminal case, so that circumstances are clearer. 11. The respondent was informed that she may opt for a final hearing on the petitioner's petition for alimony reduction elimination and her own contempt motion, but that the court would have to consider her current status of incarceration when making determinations. And that's when little Bo Peep shut her mouth and stopped saying words because she didn't want that to happen. And now she's trying to say Brian filed a motion for continuance. He's the one who's stalling the delay. A motion for continuance is to put it on the record. He submitted the motion for continuance for her. It is to formalize and to finalize the judge's order by filing a motion for continuance. She didn't have a lawyer. If she had a lawyer, her lawyer would have been the one filing for the continuance because the continuance was for her side, not Brian's. Brian was ready to hear this when he filed in 2022. She kept drawing this out, extending, and now tries to say, how dare you file a motion for continuance when we could have viewed all this. You can't play it both ways. You can't say, no, let's wait until my criminal trial. Then the criminal trial comes to the conclusion we all knew it would.
Ms. Boone, court.
Find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree.
Sentences you.
Electric chair.
Holy shit. God damn it.
To life in the Department of Corrections.
And now we're back at the same position you were, and you're floored that they're going to treat you as a second-degree depraved heart felon murderer when deciding your time-sharing obligations and if you're entitled to alimony since your incarceration. She should just ask for clarification instead of making all of these. This is a literal baseless allegation that just makes you look bad. He filed the motion for continuance because you couldn't. Yikes. The respondent firmly rejects the petitioner's baseless allegations that she is the cause of her delay. Moreover, the choice to retain private counsel is just that, a choice. This is a civil matter, and no party is compelled to hire an attorney. Thus, the petitioner's voluntary decision to incur legal fees should not be shifted onto the respondent, particularly when he is already delinquent in meeting his court-ordered support obligations. To award fees in this context would effectively reward the petitioner for non-compliance and penalize the respondent, an outcome that is wholly inconsistent with principles of equity and fairness under Florida law. It actually isn't at all. A convicted murderer losing alimony, losing free money, is not inconsistent with Florida law and inconsistent with equity. Again, this is just her mirroring Brian's pretrial statement with the same kind of rhetoric. It would be fundamentally unfair to reward former wife with fees or to sanction former husband when she herself has flouted significant obligations under the very same final judgment she seeks to enforce.
Yeah.
62. This is precisely the type of scenario where the Rosen decision would allow the court to deny any fee award to the former wife, regardless of financial disparity. 63. Further, imposing fees on the former husband would likely detract from the resources available to support the minor child, again harming the innocent to reward the wrongdoer. Just trying to flip the roles, but the arguments don't cut both ways, so it always sounds hollow and weird when she does it, and then when he does it, it actually fits the context. It just shows who is trying to copy whom and the intention behind it. She is mad at every single insult that he threw at her, causing chaos, doing this, doing that, and she has to make sure she brings up every little jab to try to reverse it. Still not making a point at all, not making a point for her. Just trying to blame and control a narrative which you lost control of when you killed George. And she was used to controlling the narrative because she would go around here, go around there, go talk to Melissa, go talk to the police, go talk to all these people. It's always really funny to me, looking back, everyone who thought George was evil happened to only talk to Sarah and only hear her side of things.
When I talked to her, she asked me to go talk to him. But she's like, please go put the fear of God in there. Fear of God in there.
And then the people who talked to both individuals call Sarah the aggressor, call her the touchy, feely, angry one who does not respect boundaries, who is violent.
So I said, sure, no problem, just stay here. I will go talk to him. I went over, sat down, talked to George. I talked to him for about 30 minutes altogether. And, George had explained to me that she was actually the aggressive one. And the reason she ended up with marks is, my perception of what he was trying to explain is that she's very hands-on, in the face, dramatized in talking and explaining or fussing or whatever they might have been doing. Right. And I believe that because Jean, my assistant, doesn't even like to deal with her, would avoid her like the plague, because she was always drunk and she's very hands-on. There was one day, as a matter of fact, it was that same day that I talked to George by himself. She kept grabbing me by the arms to the point that I told her, I said, if you touch me one more time, we're going to have a problem. I'm either going to contact the police or whatever we need to do, but you can't keep grabbing on me. I had asked her several times to quit touching me. And because of that, she would do the same thing to Jean, and Jean didn't like it.
Can I come? This one. I didn't tell her. Okay. Have a good day. Okay, that's good enough. I know. Okay, thank you. Okay. This one. Okay. Have a good day, man.
And whatever the Frankie says,
okay.
comes
Yes, okay.
a dick. Hey.
Shake my hand. Thank you. Okay, have a good day. Okay.
And she was so used to painting him as the villain that she just thinks that's what she does. She says, I excel at everything. I always know what to do and how to do it, except in this case, I don't know what to do and how to do it.
I don't think you all understand who I am, where...
Okay. Well, tell me.
I mean, I've always been a straight-A student. I am an outstanding mother to my son. Okay. I excel at everything. Because I have never dealt with anything like this before. I don't know what to do, how to do it, and I always know what to do and how to do it. I don't know. So I don't know, what's going on or,
But in every other situation she's in, she said up front, I know exactly what to do. So when she's in her sentencing manifesto going, why didn't no one help me? If everyone could have avoided this, if they just listened to me, I hope everyone goes to sleep and wakes up wondering, what could I have done to prevent this?
I forgive them for caring too late. I hope they all ask themselves while quiet and comfortable in bed at night the uneasy question, what could I have done to stop this from happening to both of them? And after all the times Sarah tried to, by asking for help from all of us and so many times.
What could they have done to prevent this? Called the police on your ass long ago. When you saw the injuries on George, when you saw the black eye, when you heard that she hit him with the car, when people saw she did this, people saw she did that, she should have had the police called on her. And they didn't do it. So it all caught up with her, and now she has to suffer the consequences that she should have been held accountable for years ago. And she can't take it, and she's imploding because of it. The respondent wishes to remind the court that the petitioner alleges to have paid for a storage unit for 2 years, but has failed to provide any evidence of this. Therefore, his request to have this deducted from any monetary relief I may be awarded should be dismissed. Which is such a tacky move, to just be like, well, he didn't show you proof that he paid for this storage unit. He just gave you the specific monetary breakdowns of what he was paying every month, so you can't detract that from the money I'm owed. By that logic, you can't accuse him of being unemployed for 2 years because you didn't show any evidence that he was. So the judge needs to completely disregard half of these allegations, more like 90% of these allegations that you baselessly make against him with absolutely no evidence. But now you want to say the thing that he was doing for you, which has a clear paper trail. This is something that can be easily fact-checked. You're saying because there was no evidence presented at trial that he can't do anything with it. That... If they held that standard, almost everything that you claim is moot. Null, void, doesn't make sense, doesn't matter. Because you didn't show any evidence of it. You kept saying your son likes it when you do this, your son does this, your son does that. You used his name so many times that you were testifying on his behalf, but your hearsay of what words you attribute to him are not actually evidence. So every single thing you said came out of your son's mouth is not evidence and should be thrown out, right? No. I mean, yes to that, but this logic makes no sense. And it just, you said in your pretrial statement, I'm pretty sure, when they're talking about the property of, I had my unverified, third-party resources look and my car got impounded and the storage unit was auctioned off. Since this last statement made by petitioner, respondent utilized her outside resources to locate information for this case and possibly filing an unlawful disposition suit against him. Found out her vehicle was scrapped, junk salvaged, and storage unit auctioned off due to abandonment. So you agree there was a storage unit. Were you paying for it? No. Did you think it was free? No. Then why on earth are you trying to contest this? Because you are selfish and want every last little dime you think you can squeeze out of him, which is only going to result in you getting nothing. For all foregoing reasons, the respondent, Sarah K. Boone, respectfully requests this court find the petitioner in civil contempt for violating the court-ordered payments he was ordered to pay while he was employed, and order the petition to pay $26,000 in alimony and $2,314 in interest payable under Florida law. B. Deny the petitioner's request that he, quote, calls even, that imputes an income to the respondent for child support. C. Deny the petitioner's proposed parenting plan and grant the respondent's in place of. Respectfully submitted on this 2nd day of September 2025, and in all gratitude of this honorable court's patience, Sarah K. Boone, pro se respondent. Okay. And that was the closing argument for Sarah Catherine Boone Paulsen.
Excuse me.
Where is he? Where is my son? Where the fuck is he? He's escaping! The killer clown is escaping! Help me!
You're eating my peach.
Cupcake. I don't want a cupcake. Please.
You need me too. I'm your mom.
Just as a mess as I thought it would be, and actually worse, right? You'd think the 5-page limit would have condensed or at least tried to streamline her antics and just absurdities. Nope, she threw caution to the wind. She said, I'm going to do whatever I want anyway, and you're going to hear what I have to say. And she is lucky the judge didn't just punt it right then and there. But in this last part where she's, wrapping it up and asking for what she wants from the judge, so she wants to find him in civil contempt for violating. Again, the contempt motion is secondary. You need to put that absolutely last, if at all, in this part. You are supposed to be asking what you want them to do with the alimony, child support, parenting plan, relocation. You agreed on most of this, but you started this saying you didn't agree on any of it. So you needed to redefine and make your decision on all of those points. Do you agree to the relocation? Okay. Do you agree to give back the child support? Okay. You don't agree with the parenting plan? What's your parenting plan? Still haven't submitted one, so you can't say deny the petitioner's amended parenting plan and accept the respondents. But whatever, because you're pro se, they're going to be malleable with it and they're going to accept these resolutions as a parenting plan. I mean, they're not going to accept it at all, but they're going to read it as such. But we have a key difference here. Order the petitioner to pay $26,000 in alimony and $2,314 in interest payable under Florida law. Well, that's not what you said in your pretrial statement. In your pretrial statement, you were trying to go for the whole $62,000. You were trying to drop that number, flip it, and reverse it.
Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
Not $26,000. You asked for $62,000 plus interest, which I think brought it up to $67,000. In addition, respondent respectfully requests 5. Sanction petitioner and his counsel for their willful violations of the court's orders of alimony payments to the respondent with active agreements and undermining its authority of consequences for their ongoing noncompliance. 6. Enforce original alimony obligation regardless of respondent's current circumstances and order petitioner to pay $62,000 as estimated and calculated minus appropriate costs deemed just and ordered by the court. 62 months times 1,000 ordered payments per month equal A, including while located at OCCD without sentence. B, with open active court-ordered agreement. C, no judgment made to any modifications proposed by petitioner. D, no permission granted to petitioner to reduce, terminate payments. E, no stipulations in any agreements regarding incarceration. 5 years plus duration while located at OCCD to present equals 10 months, 2021, 12 months, 2022, 2023, 2024, 12 months, 2025, 4 months. Petitioner is basing on completion of his 84 ordered payments per agreements, April, which is to date and obviously incomplete. 7. Hold petitioner accountable for interest occurred on arrears as a matter of equity, law, and appropriate authority calculated as follows per Florida law. Quote, Florida law imposes interest on unpaid child support and alimony at a statutory rate. As of July 1st, 2025, the interest rate for unpaid support is set at 8.9% per year and may vary annually. Interest begins accruing on the overdue balance as soon as a payment is missed and means the longer arrears go unpaid, the higher the balance grows due to compounding interest. In many cases, interest can become a significant part of the arrears balance, so it's important to address unpaid support as soon as possible. 9.8% interest, Florida law, times 62 months incarceration equals $5,518.
Come on, math.
$5,518 interest plus $62,000 arrears, total owed by petitioner pre-deductions from the court of $67,518.
Come on, man.
9. Respondent is requesting $300 to be deposited by the petitioner in her DOC inmate account on the first day of every month until debt is satisfied, and other arrangements have been made at her request pending her appeal. Which it will never not blow my mind that she asked for $300 a month, which is the max that she can get under her closed management status in prison, until the balance is paid, until the balance of $67,000 is paid. We did quick math in like a prior video. That's over 18 years.
double homicide, 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 double homicide. Bitch. No, I'm sorry.
She tried to lock him in. She wanted to lock him in for the length of another child. For 18 years, he would have had to deposit $300 into her account every single month because she cannot accept more than that if she were to get that awarded in the first place. Just wild. And that's such an abuser tactic. Never letting your victims go. She calls everyone else an abuser, but somehow she wants all of her abusers right next to her all the time. Again, kind of reminds me of the Depp v. Heard trial when she said, oh my gosh, he's a rapist abuser. I hate him so much. That's why I'm getting 3 apartments. 3 of the 5 apartments that are right next to my alleged abuser, so I would still wake up every morning and my apartment is connected to my abuser's apartment, and I'm just cool with that? Okay, right. But if you flip the roles, and your abuser is the one calling you an abuser, while also not letting you leave, that speaks volumes every time. It is so surface level and obvious. But after the trial, and you realize that you, yet again, are not entitled to the things you demand, have edited it to say, no, it's fine, I just want my $26,000. That kind of inconsistency, that kind of literally changing as the wind blows, nothing is consistent in your answers. It always pivots in order to fit your best interest, just comes in bad faith. It reeks of dishonesty, and it makes the judge want to help you even less. If she were a genuine sympathetic person, if she took accountability, if she were rational, if she was not so combative, berating, and violent, both physically and emotionally, things like this wouldn't weigh that much. But because she is all of those things, because she does all of those things, this is just another thing to add to the pile of, I don't know what you call it, she deserves nothing pile. All the evidence you want to stack up on there, this is just another thing. Wish, wash, now I want my $26,000. I'm actually glad she corrected it, but the fact that she did just shows that she will edit things to get the best possible outcome for herself. Deny the petitioner's request he calls even that imputes an income to the respondent for child support. The fact that she spent so much time on this, and this was just a nothing part of Brian's overall testimony. They were just trying to come up with a hypothetical figure. That is not the crux of their argument. They're not arguing she doesn't deserve alimony because of this fictitious number that we came up with by imputing minimum wage to her. They're saying she doesn't deserve this because everything else that's included, and on top of that, she did not pay any obligation that she should have paid if the circumstances were balanced the way they should have been when she was incarcerated. And that was just one part of the argument for an offset. It was, he was unemployed, so he didn't pay. She didn't pay child support. She doesn't need alimony. He has had to incur all of these legal fees. All of this went together to say she deserves shit nothing. But she finds the thing that offends her the most, and she hones in on it, and she can't let it go. She hates the fact that he said the word calls even, which is still very nice to say, we're going to just say no one owes anyone anything and just cut it so that we can move on. Which, when you're trying to see which side is the abuser and which side is the victim, most of the times the victim or the non-abusive party is the one that wants it to end the most, to cut contact with their abuser and move on. Saw it in the Depp v. Heard trial. He won $15 million, technically $10.35 million. She won $2 million. He said, you owe me $1 million and we'll call it even. Everyone drop your appeals and we'll go our separate ways. And courts recognize that and can see which side is genuine, coming here in good faith. She wants to say he's coming here in bad faith, even though he's the one who actually filed the motion. That is coming in good faith when you file the motion. Now, if this were reverse and she had filed the motion for contempt first, and then he filed a motion for modification, she could say, well, he's coming here with bad faith because he didn't want to do this to begin with. He only wants to do this now that I have put in a motion for contempt. That would make sense. But no, you filed the motion for contempt literally, I think it was 1 year and 1 day after he filed for this motion for modification. So it shows after a year, you are upset and trying to retaliate against him. And again, if we're going to do the Depp v. Heard thing, he sued her for $50 million. She had to countersue him for $100 million, even though there's no proof or evidence anywhere that she's remotely worth that much or that she lost that much because of however he defamed her allegedly. Or, sorry, however his lawyer defamed her while acting as an agent from him. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, not this case. All that to say is it's very obvious when someone is taking a retaliatory action, vexatious litigation as they call it, and litigation that is meant to frustrate and harass the other party. All of his motions track and follow the rules of decorum and legal procedure. Hers are all reactionary, all emotion driven, and with the sole goal of getting whatever she wants. But all of that's okay because this was respectfully submitted on the second day of September 2025, which low-key, high-key, I call bull. I don't think she submitted it on this day at all. Why on earth did it take nearly to over a month to post online when Brian's lawyers closing arguments posted almost instantly? I think it was 1 to 2 days after this deadline, it was posted online and we saw it. This came in a month later, and people say that Nicole, I'm guessing she wrote this or whatever, that she lives in Australia. So I don't know how mail works there, but I mean, also it's electronic, so that shouldn't matter. And also, if the time zones are correct, then isn't Australia is technically a day ahead of us, so she should have got this in a day sooner. But okay. So now we are going to move on to Brian's closing arguments. And this is something I've already covered before. I'm just going to insert this here. So we're going to work our way through that. So if you've seen that from prior videos, then, you know, here it is again. And if you didn't see it from prior videos, then here it is now. And then we will close this thing out. All right, petitioner's written closing argument. Petitioner Brian C. Boone, former husband, respectfully submits this closing argument in support of his petition to modify the parenting and support orders and in opposition to the respondent's requests, states as follows. 1. The evidence at trial and applicable law overwhelmingly support granting the relief Mr. Boone seeks for the benefit of the party's minor child. 2. Since the respondent's former wife incarceration in February 2020, Mr. Boone has single-handedly provided a loving, stable home for the child, covering all financial, emotional, and logistical needs without any contribution from the former wife. In contrast, the former wife, now a convicted murderer,
The jury found the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree, as charged in the information. Jersey number 1, is this your jury verdict? Yes, it is. Jersey number 2, is this your jury verdict? Yes, it is. Jersey number 3, is this your jury verdict?
Serving life in prison without parole.
Court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections.
Has been completely unable to care for or support the child, having had no overnight contact since her arrest in 2020. 3. At trial, the former wife stipulated that Mr. Boone could relocate the child to blank Florida. However, she did not agree to Mr. Boone's proposed parenting plan that provided for sole parental responsibility for Mr. Boone, 1 monthly visit with the child and the former wife, and 1 weekly phone call between the former wife and the minor child. 4. The former wife has shown no genuine accountability or remorse for the actions that led to her incarceration. The evidence demonstrated that she continues to deflect blame for her predicament rather than take responsibility. This lack of insight into her own wrongdoing heightens concerns about her judgment and fitness as a parent. 110%. And that is more than enough for Brian's side to win this, because it is absolutely absurd. In no real reality is someone allowed to react this way, or any normal person would react this kind of way to this situation. She has zero remorse. From moment one has felt nothing for him. She was too busy trying to figure out, why is he purple? Why is he purple?
I tried giving him CPR.
Yeah, okay.
But nothing happened. He's purple.
Okay.
Well, he's not necessarily cold, but he's stiff. And he's
Right,
purple.
okay. All right, listen to me. All right, okay.
He's stiff and purple.
Put your other hand on top of that hand.
Baby, I'm telling you. Just by looking at him, you can tell.
There's no way I could say how, why. So just by looking at him, like, why is he purple? Oh, that's normal when someone passes away. Lividity, turn.
As soon as the heart stops beating, the blood starts to settle to the lowest points of the body. And then it just becomes very pronounced. So that's just called a public bleed. It happens every night.
I'm like really scared. I want you guys to know that.
Which, looking back on that now, you can tell she did not care what the answer was. She wanted to plant in your mind, he's purple, so it must have been anything else than me just beating the F out of him and locking him in a suitcase until he dies. And then when they said, well, that's just what happens when people pass away, she's like, oh, well, I'm just really scared because that excuse is not going to work, so I'm terrified. Would you still have been scared if they said that this was some super rare thing that only a genetic disorder could have happened, and no way spending the entire night in a suitcase would have actually killed a human being, so you're off the hook, go home now? Honestly, that's what she was expecting. She wanted a whole biology lesson before she actually gave a flying F about that man. And the next day in the interrogation, no emotions towards him. She tried to do the fake weepy cry.
I've really helped him. I've bailed him out of jail, 3 times. I've gone to every single hearing and every single arraignment, everything that I did for him. Gone to see all his public defenders, go to the state. I've gone to the state. I did everything for him because I'm trying to help him, because I had hope in him. And he was trying. He was really trying.
I mean,
that was not my intention.
Well,
y'all don't have any idea what I've done for him.
But what was your intention?
Everyone knows. Everyone knows everything that I've done for George, and love him and continuously helped him throughout his life with me, and made him a happier, better person.
And everybody has their limits.
Everyone knows that.
Everybody has their limits.
So it's like, okay, so while we're in a good place right now, I'm going to snap? Is that what while we're in a good place right now?
You did.
And the wildest thing about even looking back on this is that when she's talking about, I do all of these things, I'm amazing, I've helped him, she's literally like jabbing her hand like a spear at the laptop. She is angry that you showed her that video, and she wants you to know that everything you saw on that video of what I did last night, you have no idea what I've done for him. If you only knew all the amazing positive things I've done for him, you wouldn't even care for the fact that I killed him. You would say, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much you had to put up with. You are a saint. We're actually going to pay you alimony on your way out of here. And it's just crazy to say, while we're in a good place, you think I'm going to snap when they just showed you a video of you snapping. And if that is not a video of you snapping, then you are a terrifying individual. And then immediately the emotion melted away and she went back to normal, saying, oh, that didn't work, okay. And not even on the stand. She's describing the most horrific things imaginable and saying it like it's absolutely nothing.
You said you poked him with it?
Yes, I kind of pushed, like I held it with the skinny part here, and then
So the grip here.
prodded at it, yes. I started with his hand, and his hand, he was still trying to get out. He was still trying to do that. So I started to push on the suitcase around it, hoping to have his hand retract and go back inside.
What was the first blunt impact injury that you identified?
So there were some blunt impact injuries to his head. I don't think it's on this one, but there were some blunt impact injuries to his head right up here around the eye and on the mouth area.
Did you notate any injuries to his hand?
Yes, so there were some ecchymoses, or you can think of that as like a large kind of bruise on both hands.
What other blunt impact injuries did you identify?
So there was a series of ecchymoses on the left side of the back, which right about here. There were some on the forearms as well.
For the split-second reaction that I had, I happened to see that, and I grabbed the baseball bat and was trying to poke his hand to go back in to please don't break through, please. So I hit his hand.
She's touching the murder weapon, the suitcase, zipping it, unzipping it, going here and there.
This was up here. This was not this hard either. So this was like here.
Okay.
Just tell me what it's at.
I mean, it was the corner. I mean, the corner was kind of open. I mean, it's not. Yes, this one was pretty much, yes. From what I can remember. That's how he was coming with his hand out. It was like this from the corner part.
Okay.
Any regular person would be mortified to be in the same room as such a traumatic object if you actually cared about him. That was his coffin, you locked him in, and you get up on the stand and you touch it like it's nothing. And, just so gross on so many levels, but shows absolutely no remorse. And even in this trial, she did nothing but deflect and say, my incarceration has nothing to do with any of this.
I would like to say that my incarceration has nothing to do with me as being a human being and a mother to my son. It's not fair to me that just because I'm here, it doesn't justify how I've been treated and excluded.
Okay, well, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair that you guys automatically blame it on me. It's not fair. See, that is just not fair.
I've been avidly striving to and will continue my pursuit to be even more meaningful to my son in my continued hard-fought efforts to see him in person while temporarily located at DOC and in the meantime of my appeal and my release and all other positive aspects that I have with my son on the horizon.
And it would actually be a stronger argument for her if she tried to take responsibility and said, yes, this horrible thing happened. It was a lack in judgment. It's not who I am. I can't believe I did that. That is not something that I normally do. And that is not the type of parent I am. And I still deserve to be in my child's life because I still have all of these good things to impart on him. And through my rehabilitation, through incarceration, I'm hoping to be able to impart good lessons upon him so he doesn't make similar bad choices and yada, yada, yada. I love him more than anything. Whatever. That would make you look at least more empathetic, and people might want you to have that relationship and to see, okay, there could be something positive here. But for you to say, I murdered someone, who cares about that? We shouldn't even be talking about any of this. It has nothing to do because I am still the mother of my son. Just because I killed a father of his own children.
He's always talking about his kids. Pardon me for saying, a and a bitch, and not a mother.
Doesn't mean I don't get to make this about me. And it's because it's not even just you trying to dodge it, saying, well, we shouldn't even talk about the incarceration. Let's just say that's not even a factor. It's the fact that you're insulting it on top of telling us to ignore it. So not only are you saying this has nothing to do with it, and even if it does have something to do with it, it's just an obscure incident.
Explaining my dedication and my decisions and ideas and opinions, they matter. One obscure enforcement incident does not define me as a person or my entire existence.
One obscure, unfortunate incident does not define me as a person or my entire existence. And again, one incident does not define me or my entire existence.
One obscure enforcement incident does not define me as a person or my entire existence. And I'm trying to be my son's best advocate for myself.
It's one dead Hispanic man.
Oh, like he does. Like, I get called everything but a white woman, so.
Why does anyone literally care? I am a white woman. He mistreated me, and now he's gone. Yay, everything should be happy now.
It's a Torres thing. Boo. Keep the fugly creep out too. It's still fugly. Lose. The brother responds, please do something with yourself, Sarah. God bless you. The defendant's response, and bless you and all of you too. I'll get, in all capitals, rid of him. Then it'll be, in all capitals, better. Ugh, Torres. Referring to Mr. Torres. Getting rid of.
I truly do believe that she was using George as a phase, like a wild phase, and she always had the intention of trying to get back with Brian and going back to Playhouse, but wanted to have this wild fling, and now she murdered him, and it just shows that she never gave a damn about him. 5. A parent who cannot acknowledge such a grave error, a homicide that left her in prison for life.
To life in the Department of Corrections.
Is ill-suited to make decisions affecting a child's well-being. Florida's public policy strongly condemns violent criminal behavior. A parent incarcerated for a heinous, intentional act cannot simultaneously fulfill the obligations or enjoy the benefits of an active parent. 6. In fact, Florida law recognizes that a parent's lengthy incarceration for a serious felony is so contrary to a child's welfare that it can justify termination of parental rights. See MSB v. RB. While Mr. Boone is not presently seeking to terminate the former wife's parental rights, this principle underscores how profoundly the former wife's situation has undermined her role in the child's life. Exactly, which is another blessing that she never appreciated. The fact is, 90% of the people in your situation would have had their parental rights terminated eons ago, because this is absolutely to that level. And if this were a TPR proceeding, you would probably lose that as well. So you are lucky that Brian wants you to be in your son's life in some capacity and does not want to take away all of your rights, just doesn't want to be bound to anything you have to say. You locked yourself away from society, so your opinion about what happens on the outside means very little. You are there to be informed and to maintain contact. Making major life decisions is something you cannot enforce nor have any genuine say. All you can do is bug the F out of them until they go to court to legally shove in your face an order, since you like to do that with everyone, the active parenting plan, stating, leave me alone. 7. Florida law presumes that shared parental responsibility is ideal, but that presumption yields when shared decision-making would be detrimental to the child. Here, sole parental responsibility in the father is not only warranted, it is essentially compelled by the circumstances. 8. The former wife has been entirely absent from the child's life for over 5 years and will remain so for the remainder of his
life in the Department of Corrections.
Minority. By virtue of her incarceration until life's end.
To life in the Department of Corrections.
She is unable to participate in day-to-day parenting or any meaningful decision-making. 9. Mr. Boone has already been exercising sole responsibility in practice since 2020 out of necessity. Formalizing sole parental responsibility in the father is necessary to avoid any confusion or conflict in decision-making going forward. 10. Awarding Mr. Boone Sole parental responsibility will serve the child's best interest. The child is thriving under Mr. Boone's sole care, which provides stability, consistency, and safety, all of which would be jeopardized by giving the incarcerated former wife any decision-making authority. That's exactly right. And she wants to talk about, can he accept the responsibility of these decisions if they go wrong? How will this sole great responsibility, should it be awarded, affect the former husband's mental ability going forward, as all instances, scenarios, and situations are not the same? I have all of this and all of that I can impart on him. He needs me. He needs his mom. I love my son immeasurably and have a limitless abundance of positive, meaningful, solid, contributing life characteristics to share and have my son inherent from me, which is priceless. It makes no difference where I am. It's who I am. Mother, now and always. And again, one incident does not define me or my entire existence. I have so much to offer in so many ways, and it would be extremely detrimental, as well as a great loss, to not be able to continue in the shaping of our son and his very extraordinary life. Is former, quote, husband able to handle the consequences, burden, and heartache should his decisions jeopardize or harm the best possible outcomes and inhibit the absolute success our son could have been or had? Meanwhile, he's over here in a biotech magnet school begging you to stop blowing up his phone. I think he's doing just fine. And if they were bound to her and her decisions and her quote unquote rules because they quote unquote matter, then what he's doing right now can be hindered. If she were granted that power and she says, well, I don't want him to go to this school, or I don't want him to go to this field trip or internship or this or that, everyone has to pause, and it's like going through speed bumps where at the end of the day, you're still going to get what you want, but now you have to include her, placate her, give her this, give her that. It's just a never-ending cycle, and no one's going to deal with it anymore. When you were on the outside and you were connected and you still had your freedom, everyone had to placate and put up with you. Now that time has passed. 11. It is simply not feasible for Mr. Boone to consult with a prisoner serving life without parole on major decisions about the child's education, medical care, or general welfare, especially when the imprisoned parent will have no financial stake or personal time investment in the decision itself. 12. More importantly, it is not in the child's best interest to do so. The former wife's inability to accept responsibility for her crime raises serious concern about her judgment. The trial evidence showed that rather than expressing remorse or cooperating in the child's welfare, she has made unfounded, inflammatory accusations against Mr. Boone. For example, accusing him of parental alienation simply because he has protected the child from exposure to trauma. Such behavior reflects a mindset that is not conducive to healthily co-parent or prioritizing the child's needs. 13. Consistent with the above, Mr. Boone's proposed parenting plan should be approved as it is tailored to the child's best interest under these unique circumstances. Mr. Boone's plan is generous yet prudent. It permits the former wife to maintain a relationship with the child through supervised monthly visitation at her correctional facility and weekly telephone calls. This plan ensures the child can have some contact with his mother, preserving their bond to the degree possible, without compromising the child's safety or welfare. And she has no concept of that, or she hasn't acknowledged it, because the fact is, going to prison even once for any reason can be a traumatic experience, even if it's just going to go visit a parent, a child, a nephew, a friend, anyone. She thinks, because I know I'm not a danger to my child, I would never hurt my child, so there should be no reason why he shouldn't want to come see me. Meanwhile, every time he goes to see you, he's going to have to go through this processing. It's going to feel invasive. It's going to feel ultra standardized because it is, and the interactions will feel sterile because of it. It's not going to be a warm environment like she's imagining and like she's going to project onto him. Because if he shows any other emotion other than pure joy and happiness, she is going to just rip into him, trying to make him feel as guilty as possible. I can't believe it. Do you know how hard I fought to see you in person, and then for you to look at me wrong and to be spat on by you is unbelievable. If you have nothing to say to me or care enough to include me and share your life, just be honest and say so. You are my son. I am your mom. Forever. No matter what, where, when, why. No matter anything. You can't delete, erase, blot out, omit, change, or remove. Stop being mean to me and not caring. I'm already going through so much, then to be disregarded and spat on by you is unspeakable, and for no reason. And then as soon as he gets home, she'd be like, oh my gosh, I love you, I love you, I love you. I can't wait to see you again. That was amazing. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. This is so overwhelming. If I were her son, I would probably panic seeing this. This is the definition of love bombing. Quite literally. Like, what is this supposed to do for him? Does you think he actually believes this because you say it a million times? It feels so fake, hollow, abusive, overwhelming, overstimulating, and self-serving. I love you, I love you, I love you forever. It always centers around her emotion without any regard for the traumatic impact all of this communication and interaction with prison can have on a child. She doesn't care. She wants what she wants. And if you don't give it to her, you're the real villain. 14. The former wife's durational alimony award should be terminated retroactive to the date that Mr. Boone filed his petition to modify in April of 2022, due to the substantial change in circumstances and the elimination of her need for support. 15. Here, the former wife has no legitimate financial need for alimony at this time. Her incarceration means the state of Florida, at taxpayer expense, is providing all her essential needs, including housing, food, clothing, and medical care. She pays no rent, no utilities, no grocery bills, no insurance. The primary living expenses that alimony is designed to cover have been entirely assumed by the prison system.
With your broke ass.
Any minimal personal expenses she might have, such as commissary items or phone minutes, are negligible and certainly not expenses the former husband should be ordered to finance. 16. In short, the entire premise underlying the original alimony award, to assist the former wife's post-marital living expenses and transition to self-sufficiency, has been upended. Given her life sentence,
Court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections.
She will never re-enter society or incur the normal living costs that the alimony was intended to defray. 17. Put simply, the former wife's incarceration has extinguished any reasonable claim of need for alimony, and it would be inequitable in the extreme to force Mr. Boone to keep paying. 18. Moreover, the former wife's incarceration and conviction amount to a substantial change in circumstances that was not contemplated at the time of the divorce. 19. The former wife stipulated that Mr. Boone does not owe him child support since she was incarcerated in February 2020. 20. However, Florida law does not automatically extinguish a parent's duty to support a child due to incarceration. See Wilkerson v. Wilkerson. A parent's duty to support, quote, exists as a result of parenthood and is not erased by a criminal conviction. 21. In other words, the former wife's incarceration did not terminate her obligation to contribute to the child's support. It merely rendered her unable to do so. The unfortunate result is that Mr. Boone and the child have borne the full financial burden with zero assistance from the former wife. For over 5 years, the former wife has paid nothing toward the child's needs. She also failed to exercise any visitation. 22. Mr. Boone testified that between February 2020 and April 2022, he provided the former wife with direct monetary support averaging $600 per month, in addition to paying $240 per month for a mini storage unit on her behalf. 23. During this same period, the former wife had a child support obligation of $367 per month to Mr. Boone, based on his exercise of 100% timeshare and imputed income of $60,000 annually to him, and minimum wage imputed to her. 24. Extrapolated from February 2020 through the child's age of majority in October 2028, a span of 104 months, that obligation totals $38,168 in child support owed by the former wife.
Yeah.
$38,168.
Homicide. Bitch. No, I'm sorry.
Child support she will never satisfy, given her life sentence in prison. 25. Even without giving Mr. Boone any credits and assuming that Mr. Boone owed the former wife the maximum amount of $26,000 in alimony arrears from February 2020 through the filing of the petition to modify in April of 2022. The former wife's child support obligation alone more than offsets any such claim. 26. This calculation does not even account for the substantial sums Mr. Boone actually paid her directly, the storage expenses he covered, or the more than $14,000 in attorney's fees he has incurred in protecting his child's best interest against the former wife's persistent obstruction. Accordingly, any claim by the former wife for arrearages must be denied, as the equities and evidence overwhelmingly establish that Mr. Boone owes her nothing.
Yeah. Double homicide. Bitch.
27. For all the foregoing reason, petitioner Brian Boone respectfully requests that this court A. Grant his modification petition and deny the former wife's outstanding motions. B. Award him sole parental responsibility. C. Approve his amended parenting plan. D. Terminate his alimony obligation and order that neither party owes the other any arrearages for unpaid support. E. Order the immediate release of any clerk-held funds to Mr. Boone. F. Deny all relief sought by the former wife, including claims for alimony, sanctions, contempt, or attorney's fees. Certificate of service, I hereby certify that a copy of the foregoing has been applied to Mr. Joshua J. Martell. Great job, you ate with that one. And that was both Brian and Sarah's closing arguments. I think the side-by-side comparison made it really obvious who deserves to win here, who deserves to have their relief actually granted, and who deserves to be free from the other. Wow, this was a lot to get through. I'm not sure why this video took as long as it did, but she's just exhausting. But I will say, the date that I'm finally finished recording this, it is Sarah Catherine Boone Paulsen's
My peach.
birthday. 10-10-7-7. Oh my goodness, how many times has she said it? In the future, I might make a compilation of all the times she says 10-10-7-7, ba-da-ba. She's so proud of that birthday. So I hope she had a very, insert adjective here, birthday. And I hope she has many, 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 many more behind bars. I hope she lives a nice, full, long life. I want her to be the oldest, wrinkly, weak-kneed inmate that Lowell Correctional Facility has ever had. And I think she can do it. With those medical snacks, the world is her oyster. But yeah, even after all of this, we still do not have an order, but it would have been hilarious if the order did drop on her birthday just to say, and goodbye. So hopefully we find out that order within the next week or so we can finally close the book on this family law trial and move on to literally anything else. But until then, if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you're feeling it. Until next time. Okay, fine. So the biggest complaint I get on many videos are that I talk too much throughout it and people just want to hear it. Okay, fine. Here you are. Here is Sarah's closing arguments without commentary, me just reading the whole thing down for the people who want to just hear the whole thing without interruptions. Okay, there might be a few interruptions, but this is the original recording that I didn't chop up before I chopped it up. Respondent's written closing argument. Respondent Sarah K. Boone, and in her best representation and efforts, submits her closing arguments in opposition of the petitioner's parenting plan, amended and support orders, and all other requests the petitioner is attempting. Opposition states as follows. To begin, the respondent would like to address the section of alimony and the petitioner's motion for modification of alimony filed April 12, 2022. Respectfully, before this honorable court considers this request, the respondent asks for judicial notice be taken of her pending motion for contempt filed April 11, 2023 against the petitioner, whom has willfully failed to comply with court-ordered alimony obligations by neglecting to pay ordered alimony to the respondent prior to filing this petition to modify. Under Florida law, alimony obligations are court enforceable and cannot be ignored without consequence. Section 6108 Florida statutes governs the award of alimony, and when such an obligation is established, the paying spouse must comply absent modification by the court. Further, Section 6114 Florida statutes explicitly allows for enforcement actions and contempt proceedings when alimony remains unpaid. Florida courts have consistently held that failure to pay court-ordered alimony constitutes grounds for contempt. As these obligations are not optional, they are legally binding. It is important to take note that the former husband, Brian C. Boone, was employed full-time during the entire two years that he did meet the requirements of his court-ordered alimony payments. The petitioner cannot, in good faith, request a downward modification while simultaneously standing in violation of the very court order they now seek to alter. Equity demands that one must come before this court with clean hands, and the petitioner's noncompliance bars them from the relief they request until such arrears are addressed. In the second portion of the petitioner's request, he asks this court to impute income to the respondent for purposes of calculating child support obligations. Respectively, this is improper to do under both Florida law and authority from other jurisdictions. This issue has been addressed in Department of Revenue v. Lamas, where the court held that trial courts cannot impute income to an incarcerated individual absent a showing of the ability to pay. The Llamas decision aligns with persuasive authority such as Lambert v. Lambert, where the Indiana Supreme Court concluded that imputing income to an incarcerated individual is improper because such individuals lack the present ability to earn income. The respondent in this case is serving a life sentence. Sure is. Sure is. There is no evidence of present or future ability to generate income. Except, didn't you say that you work at the classifications department? Okay. Florida law on child support recognizes that obligations must be based on actual ability to pay, not speculative or non existent income. To impute income here would not only contradict established law, it would also create an artificial support order that the respondent has no capacity to ever be able to fulfill. With respect to the nature and purpose of child support, it is important to emphasize that child support exists for the best interest of the child, not as a punitive measure against the parent. Section Florida Statutes establishes the child support guidelines and sets forth that child support is always designed to meet the needs of the minor child. The Florida Supreme Court has repeatedly underscored that the focus of child support orders must remain on the child's welfare, not on creating financial leverage between parents. The petitioner further requests that if the respondent is awarded any monetary relief, such relief should be retroactively offset against alleged back child support obligations. Respectfully, this position is legally and equitably unsound. To allow such an offset would defeat the entire purpose of child support. Child support is a vested right belonging to the child, not the parent, and Florida courts have long held that these rights cannot be waived, bargained away, or retroactively manipulated to serve the financial interest of one parent over the child. Your Honor, even if this court were to accept the petitioner's request to impute income to the respondent and allow any relief owed to her to be offset against alleged arrears, the outcome would still provide no monetary support to the minor child. Instead of benefiting the child as Florida law requires, the result would simply, quote, call it even, erasing the petitioner's arrears while simultaneously depriving the respondent of funds she is legally entitled to receive. In effect, this approach would punish her for the petitioner's past noncompliance and reward the petitioner by relieving him of obligations already legally established under Florida law. The controlling principle is clear. Child support exists for the benefit of the child, not as a financial tool for either parent. To permit such an offset would shift the focus away from the child's welfare and toward the petitioner's personal gain, undermining both the purpose of child support and the equitable enforcement of court orders. For these reasons, the respondent respectfully requests that this honorable court deny the petitioner's motion for modification of alimony, deny the request to impute income, and deny this request to retroactively offset any potential relief against alleged child support obligations. Petitioner's parenting plan suggests the respondent in opposition requests the following. Respondent does not agree with the petitioner's amended parenting plan due to it not being in the best interests of the child. The respondent is avidly seeking to be included in her son's life in every aspect possible and in accordance with Florida law. Respondent should not automatically have her inclusion as a parent to continue to raise, contact, and participate in his life removed, deterred, or reduced due to incarceration. Location differences do not suffice exclusion, nor does one unfortunate event define her as a human being and mother to her son. Respondent does not agree with the petitioner's amended parenting plan due to it not being in the best interest of the child. Wait, is this a repeat? You just said this. Due to it not being in the best interest of mother, son. Yeah, you just repeated this. Okay. Hunter v. Hunter states the court ruled that shared parental responsibility must be honored unless proven harmful to the child. The respondent is emphatically asking for this responsibility to utilize in her greatest capacities currently available, regardless of location differences, which she can fully be successful in and continue to enrich her son's life even more, ceaselessly upholding his rights as a child even while at DOC, and in which he avidly invites and welcomes every day she is in communication with him. Florida Statute 6113 affirms both parents have equal rights to participate in their child's life unless clear and convincing evidence proves harmful to the child. The primary reason for the request for a guardian ad litem the respondent was repeatedly denied to emphatically prove there is no such evidence. The child also could have reaffirmed his praise for their relationship, which he knows will grow to another positive level once applications for his visitation are finally received, where both mother and son can be reunited in person. For major decisions in the child's life, the respondent should be included in his growth as a young adult, which can help shape him into being even greater, more open-minded, loving, and successful. In Lamb v. Lamb, both parents must be consulted on major decisions unless an emergency arises. The respondent's mind, heart, soul, and overall being which lives for her son still computes love, understanding, compassion, knowledge, wisdom, goodness to provide to her son's life, no matter where she is. She desperately wants to be included and has not been since her incarceration, where withholding of such redeeming qualities to their son from the respondent have been due to the petitioner's ongoing decisions to alienate her. Per the petitioner's amended parenting plan, quote, the father shall maintain open access and contact between the minor child and the mother, and to foster a feeling of affection between the minor child and the mother. The child will be a legal adult in only three years, and the respondent questions why petitioner would attempt now to deplete the communication and comfort already established in the relationship between mother and son. This would not and is not in the best interest of the child. What the respondent is proposing will deepen the relationship and truly foster feelings of affection. One 30-minute phone call per week will not achieve their proposed, quote, feeling of affection, nor, quote, the father ensuring one monthly visit if football games don't take priority, he stated in trial. In continued elevation of the relationship with her son and in his best interest, and in accordance with Perez v. Perez, stating restriction on parenting time must serve the child's best interest, not the parent's convenience or preference. Respondent requests this honorable court to A. Respondent to be included in all aspects, including major decisions, unless emergency, proposed vacations, appointments, meetings, everything pertaining to her son's life, so she is aware what his status is overall and continually. Petitioner to communicate and cooperate properly and regularly with respondent via telephone and tablet messages to have any questions answered or concerns addressed about her son, or to update petitioner about changes in her life they both need to be aware of. B. Regular open communication and telephone calls between mother and son, answered upon child's availability and desire. C. Regular open communication between mother and son in tablet messages, with credits to utilize features to send pictures and as an alternative to telephone calls. D. In-person visits 1 to 2 times per month with maximum allowable time permitted by the facility. E. Petitioner to complete a co-parenting class and attend counseling of his choice focused on parental alienation and communication strategies to promote a positive future as parents to their son and in his best interests. Lastly, the respondent wishes to address the petitioner's request for attorney's fees and for the fees to be retroactively offset against his alimony arrears. The respondent respectfully requests that this court deny the petitioner's motion for attorney's fees. Under Rosen v. Rosen, the court must consider not only the parties' relative financial resources, but also the scope and history of the litigation, including whether one party's actions unnecessarily prolonged or complicated proceedings. Here, the petitioner has willfully failed to comply with prior court-ordered obligations and has initiated this action despite being in contempt of court. As held in Concaris v. Concaris, fee awards are intended to ensure equity between parties, not to reward a party acting in bad faith. The respondent additionally asks this court to strike or dismiss the petitioner's request as nothing more than another improper attempt to evade his obligation to paying long-standing alimony arrears. Furthermore, the petitioner has alleged that the respondent is the party who has, quote, caused chaos and delayed these proceedings. Respectfully, this assertion is contradicted by the record. On April 18, 2023, it is the petitioner himself who filed a motion for continuance despite the fact that the respondent was prepared to have all pending motions heard more than 2.5 years ago. The respondent firmly rejects the petitioner's baseless allegations that she is the cause of her delay. Moreover, the choice to retain private counsel is just that, a choice. This is a civil matter, and no party is compelled to hire an attorney. Thus, the petitioner's voluntary decision to incur legal fees should not be shifted onto the respondent, particularly when he is already delinquent in meeting his court-ordered support obligations. To award fees in this context would effectively reward the petitioner for noncompliance and penalize the respondent, an outcome that is wholly inconsistent with principles of equity and fairness under Florida law. The respondent wishes to remind the court that the petitioner alleges to have paid for a storage unit for 2 years, but has failed to provide any evidence of this. Therefore, his request to have this deducted from any monetary relief I may be awarded should be dismissed. For all foregoing reasons, the respondent, Sarah K. Boone, respectfully requests this court find the petitioner in civil contempt for violating the court-ordered payments he was ordered to pay while he was employed, and order the petition to pay $26,000 in alimony and $2,314 in interest payable under Florida law. B. Deny the petitioner's request that he, quote, calls even, that imputes an income to the respondent for child support. C. Deny the petitioner's proposed parenting plan and grant the respondent's in place of. Respectfully submitted on this 2nd day of September 2025, and in all gratitude of this honorable court's patience, Sarah K. Boone, pro se respondent. Okay.